Welcome to episode 747 of the Friends Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I am Justin Mason, joined as always by Dave McDonald. Dave, how you doing, my friend?
Oh man, just pretty good, but stressed out that the season's gonna be over here in about 3.5 weeks. So just trying to bear down and gain points where I can, and not let the distractions of the NFL affect me.
Yeah. I'm doing great in football so far. I'm winning pretty much every single one of my leagues. Just crushing week one. It's fantastic. Baseball, not so great, but that's all right. I'll as soon as the season's over, I know a lot of other people take breaks and stuff, but I'll be right back into the grind and getting ready for 2023. I'm already prepping for 2023, so I'll be right back to it. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's got to be nice once baseball's over." I was like, "What do you mean? Like baseball never ends? Never ends for me."
If you want to be, and this is something that I've only recently learned, if you want to really take your game to the next level, you really don't want to take an off season. And I know a lot of people do, but you can, but you're going to be a little bit behind, I think, and catching up is just that much harder. And doing this podcast with you last year and being more involved in the industry and in industry leagues that draft absurdly early, like our pod league and everything, I have to know my shit by, January, February, whereas normally I wasn't ready by then. So not taking that off season kind of has helped me, I think, kind of stay up on everything and all the information that I need.
Yeah. We'll definitely be, you and I will be doing October, November. We'll be doing a lot of kind of 2022 review stuff. And then probably late November, early December, really start getting into draft prep and stuff like that for 2023. So definitely stick around. We'll be recording throughout the off season while a lot of other pods go dark for football or dark just for times off. So, but stick with us. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. We'll start with a little bit of news, not a ton of news, not really a ton of stuff going on, except for we are going to talk about the 2023 rule changes and what that's going to mean for fantasy, because that you and I were talking kind of off air before we started that we haven't had like a real like regular season for quite a while, right? We had 2020 shortened season, then 2021 the after effects, and 2022 has been the dead ball and a lot of injuries. We started to kind of get back to a regular, what would we consider a normal season, and now 2023 is going to throw it all for a loop. So we're gonna start talking about that, and then we're gonna talk about some guys. We're gonna talk about some guys who might buy it back in on next season, and as well as what you need to do in each category. How far back is too far back to catch someone in a category, and when should you start like thinking about punting that for something else if you haven't already? So let's just jump into a couple of news and notes. Jazz Chisholm done for the year. Kris Bryant likely done for the year. Obviously, these guys should have been dropped a long time ago in your leagues, unless you're able to stash them on a pretty deep IL. But where are you at on these guys for 2023? Because I don't think they're going to have a massive discount, from where they were drafted this year. I really don't. Yeah, Kris Bryant in Colorado. That's always going to get people excited, right? And then you got Jazz Chisholm, who's just one of the flashiest players, fun players, power, speed. There's going to be a discount. I don't know if the discount's going to be used. Let me say it this way. He's not going to be big enough for me, most likely. Will it be big enough for you?
Yeah, it's hard to know. I do think that there's going to be a lot of, maybe less so in high stakes leagues, but in typical leagues, I think there's going to be a lot of people who don't want to come back in on these guys because they were so frustrating this year, especially Kris Bryant. I mean, like when he was even healthy, for the few games he was healthy, he didn't do anything. And then he went on the IL and never really came back. And it just seems to be like one thing after another. And it's just that really wears on the typical drafter. I think you're right that in high stakes, I don't know how big of a discount there's going to be. I do think there will be a discount. I think kind of people are starting to see that Jazz is like a bit higher of an injury risk. Like this guy, he goes all out, and the way he plays with reckless abandon is going to lead to him getting hurt. And Jake talked about this a lot on our pod, and he was out on Jazz. I wasn't out, but I needed a discount, and so thankfully I didn't end up with him anywhere. So if he starts going in that range where a lot of the combo guys are going in like the third round in that kind of area, I'm going to be out on him. But if he falls to like the 5th to 6th round range, then we're probably talking about a time where I can see myself buying back in.
Yeah, I mean, if he's in that range, I think I can make the argument for it. I think it still might be a little bit too high. I got him in the beginning of the 5th round of our Battle of the Pods draft, and I was like, it's too good of a value to pass up.
Oh, that's right. I sorry to interrupt. I was thinking he was going earlier, but you're right. He did fall a bit, and I don't remember if he was going earlier by main events, maybe like 4th. But I don't expect him to go any higher than he did last year. I think he'll go later, at least a round or 2.
Yeah, I would think that he'd need to be like 7th, 8th round for me to really get super excited by it, just because he's going to miss time. Like at this point, you have to kind of pencil that in. When he's on the field, he's great, right?
Yeah.
He had 14 home runs, 12 stolen bases, 254 in just 60 games, right? A third of a season, 241 plate appearances, and he's almost a 15-15 guy, right? That tells you, right? He could easily be a 30-30 guy if he gets to 120, 130 games. I just have very little faith at this point that he's going to get there. And so I have a really hard time. Bryant, same issue, right? Man, is this guy going to be able to stay on the field? He's, had injuries throughout his career. I know Colorado is tantalizing, but he's another year older. He's going to be on a team that's not going to be very good offensively. And I just don't trust him to stay on the field.
Yeah. And I think that people are going to just not want to buy back in on Bryant after this year as being as ridiculous as it was. And, he does run a bit, but it's not like Jazz where he gives you, 4 categories as much. But let me ask you this. Where would you put Jazz Chisholm? I'm thinking he's going to go in the range that like Tommy Edman went last year. Where would you rank those two? Like, I think people will probably take Edman ahead of him now that Edman's kind of having a little bit of resurgence here lately, but he was cold for a long time. I mean, he had a hot start and then he just kind of fell off the face of the planet. And a lot of people don't think he's very good, but the overall numbers are going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to take Edman over him. The hard part too is like Chisholm won't be multi-position eligible next year. He's only going to be eligible at second base, whereas Edman's going to have second and short eligibility. So that's shortstop is whatever because it's such a deep position. Anyways, you probably won't need him to play shortstop, but it's always nice to have a guy who can. St. Louis is just a much better team to hit on. Parks are, about the same, negligible. So kind of, here's the thing, and we'll talk about this with, in a little bit when we talk about the 2023 rule changes, is I think there's going to be a lot more stolen bases next year.
Yeah, me too.
Which means I'm going to prioritize some more power guys. And so I think you can make a really good argument that Chisholm has much better power potential than Edman. And stolen bases are going to be much more widely available, so you don't need to prioritize a guy like Edman quite as much. So I think you can make the argument for either. I probably am going to have Edman ahead in my initial ranks, but I might get swayed depending on how much we think stolen bases are actually going to go up.
Yeah, I think I'll have Edman ahead because I still am concerned with Jazz's injury proneness, and I think that's going to push me more towards Edman. I think Edman will have a higher ADP, but I do think they're going to go within like a round of each other. I think they're going to be pretty close in that range.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible. I would hope that Edman's going a fair amount higher than him, but we'll see. Shane McClanahan's returning on Thursday for the Blue Jays. Would you start him, number one, this week against the Blue Jays? And two, how confident are you that he's going to make it to the finish line?
Well, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody who DMs me a question. I need to know your league specifics. I need to know the scoring. I need to know who you have. I need to know what you're looking for. If you're asking me if I'm expecting prime Shane McClanahan in his first start back, the answer is no. He could be, but and it doesn't even mean that I wouldn't start him. Like if we're talking about a 15-team league, I mean, where I'm rolling out guys like, Paulo Espino versus Miami this week, would I take him over Paulo Espino? Yes, I would. If you're talking about a shallower league where you can throw out, a pretty darn good starter, I don't know, I can't think of, but like say Tristan McKenzie, no, I'm taking McKenzie over him for this week. So, it's entirely dependent on your league and what your options are. But for what it's worth, I have him in a Fantrax league that I left him benched for, because anytime a guy's coming off of an absence of more than 2 weeks, I typically like to sit them for their first start back unless it's like a 2-start week against 2 really easy teams. There's always several considerations, but my go-to is to sit right away.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I left him on my bench in Tout Wars, which is a 15-team Roto League, but I really need wins.
So who's your lowest starter there?
Josiah Gray.
Ooh, okay. That's a tough one, actually. I think I would take him over Josiah. I know he faces Miami, but he is so prone to blow ups that
he absolutely is, but I need wins, and I don't know that Tampa Bay is going to let McClanahan go.
That's fair. If wins is, and that's why I always ask people, what do you need? Like, because it's not always just who's the best play. It's who's the best play for you. So maybe in your case, Josiah was the better play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my standings right now. The difference between second place in wins and let's say 11th place in wins is 10 wins.
Okay.
So, and I'm kind of right in the middle of that, where I can gain probably about 5 or 6 points with 5 or 6 wins. So
yeah,
I had to just kind of rule on the side of caution. But at the same time, I right now most people are either strikeout hunting or win hunting with their starters. So. And as much as I love McClanahan, like I just don't know how deep he's going to be allowed to go in his first start back. Plus, he's playing Toronto. That offense can get to anybody. So, we'll
I started Luis Sessa over him, who has a 2-start against Pittsburgh and then St. Louis. St. Louis has cooled down a bit lately, and I really like the Pittsburgh start. And I needed the wins more. And I just didn't trust him coming off.
Sessa's been quietly really good recently. So
he's got a really good slider, and as long as he keeps throwing that at a high rate, I think he can at least get through 5-6 innings with minimal damage.
I didn't even see this happen until after lineups had locked, but Jon Gray's back.
Yeah,
I totally missed that.
Oh no, you didn't bid on him yesterday.
I did not bid on him yesterday. I saw someone else bid on him. I was like, oh, why are they picking up Jon Gray? I just filed it in the back of my head that he was done for the year. But he is back. And for those that don't remember, Jon Gray was pitching like a fucking star before he
like an ace, like a legit ace. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's one of the guys I targeted in my my 3-sport draft, which my first baseball draft of 2023. Super glad to have him. If he is available in your league, and obviously, in the bigger high stakes leagues and stuff, he's probably been picked up or was still rostered. But if you're playing Yahoo ESPN, like go check. Like this could legit be a difference maker down the stretch.
Yeah, I put in the notes. I think he could be the last big injury return ad of the year. He only went 3 2/3 today, but. And granted, this is, with the caveat that this is against the Marlins, he only gave up 2 hits with no walks and 5 Ks in 3 2/3 innings. So
the no walks part is what I love. Like I love that.
Yeah. I mean, so I haven't looked at the underlying metrics. I didn't look at the StatCast stuff yet, but from the results, it seems like he's well on his way back. And there started to come out news within the last week, that I was following like about him. And so I picked him up in like Fantrax and Yahoo leagues where I could just add guys, and I was kind of waiting for an FBC to come along. And I did end up with a cheap share or 2 of them. And I had to get cheap shares because I don't have much money left as per typical for me. But Yeah, so I was happy we got him for like $2, I think, in the tag team maybe league, Tony and I think we bid on him in the main. I don't know if we got him or not though, but we sat him for this week, but next week and moving forward, assuming nothing happens between then, I think he's going to be like a guy that you should be playing every week from here on out.
Yeah, I just pulled up his StatCast data from today. It looks like the four-seamer was right on par with his velocity from earlier on in the season.
That's good to hear.
53% CSW on the slider.
Woo! Okay,
that's what you want to see. So
yep. So it sounds like Jon Gray is back.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely. If he's available in your league, go ahead and swoop him up for your playoffs or for your home stretch run. All right, let's talk about these 2023 rules.
Yeah.
I want to start with the defensive shifts because this has been the most talked about thing. And it definitely is going to have an impact because there are lots of guys who lose out on team shifting him. One, I dislike this. I think this is a stupid fucking rule. But that's not up to me, right? I think MLB likes to fix things that aren't broken, and all three of these rules fix things that aren't broken when they could have fixed. They could have fixed things that are fucking broken, like giving us the robo-umps. That or learning how to market your fucking players. But that being said, who are some of the guys that you might be pushing up your board next year because of this?
Yeah. Well, so I will say I do think that I don't think that things should always just stay the same. I do think that as people evolve and times evolve and the game evolves, we should evolve the rules with them. So I'm fully in favor of doing things that help the game. And especially I know that baseball kind of has this stigma of kind of being long and boring. And so things like the pitch timer and stuff. And they tried this out in, what was it, like independent leagues, I believe, this year.
A-ball, yeah.
I think it was I mean, they might have done it in the minors too, but I think they did it in like independent leagues too. And they were kind of testing it out to see what people thought. And these all got pretty widely acclaimed results. Like people were definitely in favor of these things to make it more watchable and everything. So
I don't necessarily, and we'll get to the pitch clocks next, but like I don't necessarily have an issue with the pitch clock per se. The whole not being able to throw over to first, like after your set, like you can't do it more than once. Like I that is just inviting people.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that part. So you can only throw once.
I think you can throw twice.
Okay.
But after the second time, you can't throw it again. You can't disengage yourself from the rubber more than twice, which means you can't, step off. You can't, which means if you do it twice, then the guy can take a lead halfway down the fucking base, because you have to go home first, right? So as soon as you engage, this is one of the reasons we're going to see a ton more stolen bases because this is going to happen.
Yeah, that is interesting, and I don't know. I mean, if it's really is as you say, I don't know how that's going to work because then, you're telling me that literally he could start sprinting towards second and you can't throw to second base?
You have to throw it home. You're going to see quick pitches.
Well, you can't throw to first. Can you throw to second?
No, you can't disengage yourself from the rubber.
See, I don't know. That doesn't seem like that can't possibly be the rule. I don't know. If it is,
I'm bringing up the word for word rule off of the MLB website.
Okay.
Because I when I saw it too, I was like, what? That doesn't make a ton of sense. Pitchers are limited to 2 disengagements, pickoff attempts, or step-offs per plate appearance.
Okay. But does it say anything in terms of if the guy starts, if he's halfway to the base or starts running?
Once you engage the rubber, you can't disengage.
Huh. Okay.
So after you do it twice, you better pitch quick on that third time you put your foot on the rubber.
Yeah. Okay. If that is the case, then that is crazy. I don't know. I guess I'd have to see how it works in real time. I don't know how this is going to go. But that doesn't seem right to me.
It's not right.
No.
It's a bad rule. Is what it is.
Okay.
Well, I understand why, because they don't want guys thrown over the first 5 times.
Yeah, and I'm in favor of that. Like, I don't like when guys like can throw over infinite times. I don't think that should be allowed. But to say that like you can never do it, like there needs to be like if they're more, if they're I don't know, 5 steps off the bag than you're allowed to or something. I don't know. Why that number, J-Hook?
J-Hook said Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to have 69 stolen bases. That would be very nice. And
that would be nice.
Making him the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you don't think that guys, are just going to be baiting pitchers to throw over as much as they can, so that way they can get that.
Jon Berti might push 200 steals at that point. I mean, assuming he can get on base 200.
Bubba Thompson, right now, he's already got 15 stolen bases. I can't remember in how many games, but somebody on Twitter said he'd be on pace for 70 in a full season.
Yeah,
he's a second round pick next year now.
Now, normally, when we talk about this and we're like, this guy's on pace for this many bases, they never ever get there. You said that about Billy Hamilton. And you have to also take into account like how good of a hitter are they actually? Like, is Bubba Thompson even good enough to continue starting? Is the question.
No, he's not.
Probably not. He's probably
a really bad hitter.
Yeah, exactly. But there are guys who are good enough to get on base and then steal a significant amount, and their value could be through the roof next year. But with these rule changes, steals in general might just be so over flooding the market now that we don't need to pay up at a premium for them anymore. Because that I'm always that guy. I don't draft hitters early pretty much unless they give me steals in addition to power. Now, I'm not saying like I don't want to draft the guys who don't run at all, because they're probably still not going to run next year either. Like even with all these changes, I don't think you're going to see Rowdy stealing more than 2 or 3 bags, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Stuff like that. But anybody who steals even like 5 or 10 could be up to like 15, 20, and who knows? And so many guys we saw this year kind of came out of the woodworks and were running all over the place, more so than in the past. So I'm like you. My first thought was, okay, I'm focused more on power next year now.
Power and batting average. It's going to be power and batting average for me.
Exactly. Absolutely. Get those good hitters. So back to your original question, which was talking about the defensive shifts. Like, basically, there's going to be a lot of research coming out, on Fangraphs and other sites where people are going to go dig deep into this, deeper than I had time to do today. There's going to be a lot of very intelligent people who know more about this stuff than I do, who I'm going to kind of stand on their shoulders and use their research, and whatever they determine, I'm probably going to just use for myself. But it seems like the kind of guys, the number one guy who gets talked about the most is Joey Gallo. And I don't think it's going to make him all of a sudden a great hitter. I think people are going to, I think he's going to go higher than he should next year, because everybody kind of knows that he's the guy. I don't think this is going to have as big of an effect as people are thinking it's going to for him in particular, because I don't think he puts the ball in play enough. But I do think that he'll be at least draftable now, whereas I did not think he was draftable coming into this year. But some interesting guys that I saw since 2020, I saw someone had a list of like the people who have lost the most hits. Corey Seager, Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, Anthony Rizzo, Max Kepler, and Charlie Blackmon were the names that came up at the top. And I mean, how scary is it to think about Freddie Freeman, who has run in the past, so he could run more next year with these new rules, and without the shift, because his batting average against the shift, or like his BABIP was like 129 or something ridiculous on balls that he pulled into the shift. So if you change that to like his normal BABIP, like 340 something or whatever, I mean, this guy could hit like 360 next year. I mean, it'd be kind of crazy, but yeah, so these are the names that I'm looking at right off the bat, but I know that there's going to be a lot more in-depth research to look into.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to do a lot of research on this myself. So, and I'm like I said, they're going to be really smart people in the industry that are going to be able to automate this stuff a lot quicker than you and I, and we will definitely be using their research. I mean, Corey Seager's another one, like who gets shifted a ton. But he could also start running a little bit more. Like he's
maybe a guy who never really run though.
Never been a big runner, but he's on Texas, a team that likes to push it on the base paths. He could.
Yeah, but the fact that he's on that team and still doesn't run makes me feel like he's just not going to. And also the fact that maybe they want to keep him healthy because he's also got a fairly significant injury history where I think because he's their cleanup hitter, he's their big power guy. Like they don't want him to go down with an injury trying to run.
The thing I will point out, well, I'll ask you a question, and obviously you're not going to get it right on the button, but Fangraphs does a great job of breaking down the shifts in their splits, right? For Joey Gallo. What do you think his batting average is against no shift? Ballpark it.
Oh God, I don't. 250.
It's actually 0.
Oh, what?
Because it's only happened at one at bat all season. He's been shifted or one plate appearance. He's been shifted in every single plate appearance this season except for one.
Oh my God.
So then they break it up between traditional and non-traditional shifts. The non-traditional shifts where you move like the third baseman or the shortstop like into the outfield.
Yeah.
And your traditional shift is just shifting the infield over a little bit,
right?
Which will still be legal, by the way, right? You can still shift. The shortstop just has to keep at least 1 foot on the opposite side or the correct side of second base, right?
Before the pitch is thrown, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can still shift people. You just can't shift any players into the outfield. You can't move someone completely over to the other side of the diamond. So what do you think his batting average has been against the traditional shift? Because that's what will be able to keep going.
What it would be against the traditional shift?
Yeah, what it has been against the traditional shift. And for context, he has been shifted that way in 148 of his plate appearances.
I'm going to guess like 0.80.
It's 195.
Oh, okay.
So like we're still not in good or draftable territory.
Right.
So like if people start pulling Joey Gallo into the top 200 picks, they're just asking to just get burnt.
Yeah.
Like, will he be better? Sure, he's going to be better because you probably can't be this bad when you hit the ball as hard as he does. Will it solve all his problems? Absolutely not.
No.
Like you said, the problem is he does not make enough contact, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's not going to stop the strikeouts. If anything, what we're going to talk about here in a second is that there may be more strikeouts because with the new pitch timer, guys may prioritize striking guys out. And with the shift not being there, guys are going to prioritize striking guys out because I don't think they're going to want to put it in play as much. And so a guy like Joey Gallo, who already strikes out a ton, could strike out more.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
yeah, there's going to be so many repercussions from this. And like you said earlier, we haven't really had a normal season since 2019, like from 2020 through 2023. Now we're going to keep pushing into new territory of, okay, we have never come off of a season like this, or we're never going into a season like this before. And next year's going to be super weird again. We're just going to have to try to make as many adjustments as we can before your draft. And then afterwards, just adjust from there. Yeah. And how is this going to affect pitchers? A lot of pitchers are going to be negatively affected. I think ground ball pitchers especially will be negatively affected more because now they're trying to get those guys to hit into the shift. And now that's no longer the goal. So a lot of these guys don't have great strikeout stuff. Some of these guys rely on those ground balls and they're going to be hurt. Now, interestingly, I looked up this for stats. 3 of the pitchers who have prevented the most hits since 2020 by using the shift were Luis Castillo, Logan Webb, and Jose Berrios. So, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting collection there. I think Castillo and Berrios, or Castillo and Webb, are both heavy ground ball pitchers, right? Mm-hmm. I believe. I didn't think Berrios was, though, but I could be wrong.
I didn't think he was either, but checking it right now.
And it doesn't,
40%. Like it's not that big. So I mean, 40% this year in previous years, 42. Last year was about 43%, and and that was the highest of his career.
That's not really a ground ball pitcher. The thing is, I don't know if any of this matters. Like, I don't know that that's something that like we can say like, okay, these guys have really been benefited from the shift. Therefore, next year, we should discount them at all. I don't know that this is something that we can carry forward as in terms of like projecting next year's stats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. I mean, here's the hard part: is anybody who tells you they do know. And I said this in 2021, right? We came out of the 2020 season. People are like, this is how we should be valued. We heard a lot of people like with the hot takes on this is what you should do. This is what you should do. And one of the things I said is anybody who tells you that we should be doing it this way is fucking lying to you. Because we had no fucking idea. It never happened before.
Right.
And this is going to be another scenario, another test case for them. Anybody you listen to on a podcast or read an article that tells you this is what's going to happen is lying to you because they have no fucking clue. We have no. By the way,
sorry to interrupt, but I know because of your survivor pool, Denver just lost. They missed a 64-yarder with 15 seconds.
Unreal. Yep. I think 86% of my survivor pool got knocked out week one. That's including 3 of my 4 entries. I'm double checking the numbers right now. So
just off to the left too is actually it looked like it had the distance and it just went a little bit left.
75%. 86 of the 146 people in the pool. Or no, sorry, 80. 100 or 110. 110 of the 146 in my pool got knocked out, including 3 of my 4 picks. I'm still alive, and it actually improved my odds of winning the thing, even though 3 of my fucking things got knocked out.
75% of your entries are done, and you actually improved your odds.
My odds. That's insane. That's insane.
This could be unreal by week 4.
As long as I'm winning, I don't care. That's crazy. All right. So back to the pitchers though. I think it's going to be even more important this year when you draft an ace, to make sure you're drafting a high strikeout ace. Because I think strikeout numbers are going to go up.
Yeah.
I think walk numbers are going to go up, because of the pitch timer, and the lack of shifts. I think guys who don't strike out guys enough as it is are going to be even less valuable than they are now.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be more important than ever to make sure you're starting your draft with a high strikeout guy with good control. Like
starting your rotation anyways. It doesn't have to be your first pick in the draft, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying necessarily take your first round pick, but like a guy like Sandy Alcantara, like he's going to be lower on my list than a lot of other lists because he doesn't have the gaudy strikeout numbers. The guys who strike out below a batter
like 11 K per 9 or something.
Yeah, they're not going to be likely in the top 10 of my starting pitcher ranks, and this is why. Because I think there's going to be a boost in strikeouts in order to keep up with the boost in strikeouts just league wide. You're going to need a guy at the top of your rotation, and be attacking guys throughout your rotation that get really good strikeout numbers. And it doesn't mean you don't draft guys without like really gaudy strikeout rates, but you want to have those guys that do. And so
you don't want them to anchor your team, in other words.
Absolutely, because I think you want the strikeout rates, but you also don't want the guys who are going to walk the yard. Like it just and so. And those guys are really, really hard to find, middle rounds and stuff. So I think it's just going to be very, very important.
I think Logan Webb makes for a dangerous pick next year.
He could. I definitely want to kind of look into it a little bit more, but he definitely could, especially with how bad that defense has been in San Francisco.
Well, he's super reliant on ground balls, and he doesn't get a ton of Ks. Like he gets, decent amount of Ks, but he's nowhere near the top of like with aces. As far as like your ace, like number 1 and number 2 guys. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really, really good point. And kind of a huge bummer, but like a guy like Max Fried, he's another guy. Like I love Max Fried. You got to love what he's doing this year, but he doesn't strike out guys at a batter per inning. I already said Sandy Alcantara, even like a Shane Bieber. He's a guy that doesn't, get gaudy strikeout numbers. Logan Webb, Alek Manoah, other guys like Darvish. These are all guys who like are really, really good pitchers, and under normal circumstances, you'd be arguing for them as, SP1s or SP2s, and they may not be quite there. Woody in the chat asking, will you guys be avoiding any pitchers because of the pitch clock, and who would that be? Will the pitch clock be good for any teams or pitchers? I think the real thing I'm going to be avoiding are guys with bad control numbers, right? Bad walk rates. I think you should be using walks minus strikeouts as a stat to begin with, but I think it's going to be even more important, especially because guys are going to be more rushed. So, guys who are typically slow to the plate to begin with is something we're going to want to look into in the offseason, because their motions are going to be sped up a little bit more. But usually it's those guys with bad mechanics, guys with high walk rates to begin with, that are probably going to be hurt more by this.
Yeah, it's still super early. Like, these are just our initial thoughts, and a lot of this is going to change over the next several months. And like I said, there's going to be people smarter than us who are going to be doing the research and as you said, automating this stuff and looking at all the actual data here that we just don't have access to or don't know how to manipulate ourselves. I'm sure John will be. Oh God, I forgot his last name already. But no, him too. But no, John Anderson. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be doing something on his spreadsheet with this stuff and have access to that stuff.
Jay Hook is trolling me in the chat right now. You see Nick Pavetta's top 30 in strikeouts this year. He will be on all of Justin's teams. Charlie Morton, 9th most strikeouts this year. He'll be on all of Justin's teams. I've learned my lesson on Nick Pavetta. That will not happen again. He single-handedly destroyed my main event team this year.
So Woody, we'll just stay tuned, and anytime some big research piece comes out, I'm sure Justin and I will cover on the pod too. So
and we'll get these guys on the pod too. Like if John Anderson or John Legayza come out with something, if Todd Zola comes out with something, we'll try to get them on the pod to kind of explain,
that'd be good.
The research behind it and all that. Derek Hardy's probably another guy who's going to.
Because this isn't the shit that this is the stuff that I farm out. I like to do a lot of my own research, but this is not the stuff that, like, this is like just the grind work that a lot of it I don't have access to or don't know where I can find it and manipulate it. So this is the stuff that I just want people to tell me, okay, this is what was here.
And see, for me, what I'll do is I'll end up doing all this work in like October, and then someone else will come out with a better system in December or January, and I'll it'll be a way of me double checking my work.
Because have your thoughts and then adjust from there once the actual research comes out. Just kind of ignore. For me, anyways, I'm going to ignore it for now. It's in the back of my mind, but I'm going to, decide what I think about pitchers in the current climate, and then once that research comes out, then I'm just going to adjust from there.
And keep it with the pitch timer. We'll add in the bigger bags. This should lead to a lot more stolen bases. And like you said, there are going to be certain guys that just don't run. Like, right? They're just not runners, or they're on teams that aren't going to run as much. But there are guys who, and we see it every year. Every year there's a guy who ends up like popping out of nowhere with 20 stolen bases, right? A few years ago it was Manny Machado. And you're like, whoa, where did these 20 stolen bases come? Well, they just decided to run. Well, a lot of those guys who can run and just have decided not to run may start running in 2023. And so it's something to kind of really keep an eye on, because I do believe there are going to be a ton more stolen bases, which means you shouldn't pay for as much for them at the draft table, right? You should be prioritizing guys, especially with good batting averages. You guys
like a Jordan Alvarez, for example, not just sloppy power, but the guys who have power and also hit for a solid average.
The guys who have power and don't strike out.
Yeah.
Right? Because strikeouts are going to go up for everybody. If they go up for pitchers, they're going to go up for hitters. So guys who can walk, guys who don't strike out is going to be really, really important in 2023, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let's move on to the next subject, and that is how far back in each category do you need to be to catch a person in front of you. So let's start with home runs. What do you think?
Yeah, and so what I did was I kind of just put the numbers in that these are. So first of all, it's completely dependent on your team and the teams that you're chasing. Obviously, if the teams you're chasing have a ton of great power hitters with great schedules for that week, and you're rolling out Bubba Thompson and you're trying to catch in steals and stuff, you can't be assuming that you're going to make catch up ground in home runs then. But let's say that you are putting all of your focus into trying to get more home runs for your team. It's kind of like looking at what's a realistic difference in a 15-team league or even a 12-team league, what you can still catch up in. And I think about 15 to 20 home runs. If there's about a 15 to 20 home run difference between a team and teams in front of you, I think that ground can be made up in about 3.5 weeks. I think you can gain about 5 per week. Again, it's totally dependent on their roster and your roster, but that's like anything more than 20 home run difference. If you have 350 and they have 380, I'm probably not really going for that at that point.
I think that's fair. I think that's a really good calculation. And for all of these calculations, I will keep these in the show notes for people for quick access to, like you can go on your podcatcher or podcast player and see for quick reference.
Now, again, this is just from my personal experience, having played as long as I have in high stakes and everything. This is not there's no data behind this. This isn't like anything that I can prove to you. This is just my experience. And
I think it's fair. If you're, 25 home runs behind someone with, 3 to 4 weeks to go, it's unlikely that you're going to catch them. So then you should probably go focus on a different category.
Exactly. And sometimes you don't have anything else that you can focus on. So it's not saying to like completely stop focusing, but it's like maybe if you can make up more ground and steals, maybe just switch your focus to go in for that instead.
On the flip side, make sure you're looking at the people behind you, right?
Behind you
other people are going to be trying to catch you as well.
Right.
Right. But look for the places where you can gain the most amount of points, right?
Yes, you're not just looking at where you can gain, but also where people can gain on you. So if you're up by 10 to 15 steals on someone, just know that if you're taking guys out of your lineup, that's going to make it easier for them to catch you as well.
And when we get to the ratio categories, that's going to become even more important because the ratio categories are the only categories where you can lose your statistics and fall back to people, right? So we'll get there in a second. What about runs and RBIs?
So runs and RBI this is where you can gain the most ground, in my opinion, in the last 3.5 weeks, because a lot of people are still going to be loath to move on from their big names, even though like at this point in the season, I don't care who it is. If they're not producing, you need to get rid of them. Like people had Whit Merrifield still on their rosters until like I saw him get dropped a bunch this last week. He should have been dropped a while ago. I mean, I get that it's Whit Merrifield, but we've seen him. We've seen what he's doing. It's not happening. Like you need to move on. You can't be holding on to big names just because they're big names. This is the time where, you should be rostering the guys who are playing and producing right now. I don't care who they are, what they've done in the past. If they're not making good quality contact right now, you need to do something different. So runs and RBIs is going to be the place where you can gain the most points or lose the most points if you don't still have Fab left, especially. But if you do have Fab left, you can keep picking up those guys every week who are the TJ Friedels and the Jake Fraley's this week with Cincinnati playing 9 games, 7 against righties, I think. So like that's how you're going to move up. You're going to move up by getting those little advantages over everybody else while they're still playing their big names who have 5 games in a week and you're playing guys who have 9 games. There's a lot of ground to be made up. And if people are not, you should be adding more guys now than you were in previous weeks, because this is the time of the year where there's a bunch of guys producing, but they might not be names that anybody knows. You need to be paying more attention to the lineup trackers and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Who's playing every day? Who's losing playing time? The team, a lot of teams are sitting there veterans who are out of the playoff contention now. You need to be aware of that. Jesus Aguilar is on Baltimore, but he's not really playing very much. I don't care that he's Jesus Aguilar. Drop him. Pick up a guy on a crappy team who's playing every day, who can actually produce for you right now. So you need to constantly be cycling through these guys. And if you do that, I promise you're going to gain a lot in runs and RBI. I think you can make up a difference of about 50 still in runs and RBI. Now, it's not something you want to bank on or anything, but if that's your focus, you can still do it. Like you can gain I would say about 15 runs or RBI per week on your opponent. And given that we've got about 3.5 weeks left, 3 weeks would be about 45. So I estimated about 50.
Yeah, I think 50 might be overshooting it a little bit, but I think 40 is definitely attainable. So, yeah, definitely something you want to be keeping track on. And I think what you said about guys like TJ Friedel, even though I drafted him in some DCs, as you saw earlier tonight, we were talking about the Battle of the Pots. Like these are the guys that, teams that are not very good, that aren't in playoff competition, are going to be giving guys like Friedel, who they want to see. Is this guy going to be a part of our future?
Yeah.
They're going to give these guys run. And I think this is a really good time. I think it's more important than ever right now to maximize your plate appearances, right? Cincinnati having a 9-game week is huge, right? Maximizing your plate appearances, maximizing your innings pitched is going to be huge. And runs and RBIs, well, I disagree in it being the place where you can make up the most ground. It's definitely a place where you can make up a lot of ground.
Yeah, I will also say one thing, because people often ask me, they're like, "Oh, this guy has 8 or 9 games a week." Always keep in mind, no player is going to play 9 games in a week. I mean, I'm not going to say never, but almost never. 9 games usually means like probably 7. If they're an everyday player, they'll probably
7 is huge when you've got teams playing 5 games this week.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like exactly compared to 5, but 5 might not even be 5. 5 might be 4.
Exactly.
Guys might sit games, especially if they're teams. Now, the teams that are in, we talked about on the last pod episode a couple weeks ago, we talked about the teams that are in the races. Those teams are going to have steady lineups. Like you're looking at Cleveland, for example. They're going to have put out the same lineups against righties and lefties that they've been doing because they're trying to win right now. But then you've got other teams who they're not really playing for anything. They're probably sitting guys here and there, so you need to be aware of that at all times and realize that 9 games doesn't actually mean 9 games, and stuff like that. So just something to keep in mind.
Stolen bases, you say about 10?
I think the difference is about, I mean, and again, it totally depends on who you have, but Bubba Thompson can rip off 3 steals in a game, and John Berti had 2 steals tonight, stuff like that. If it depends on who you have and who your opponents have, but you can easily gain. I think a difference of 10 is probably a moderate. Like I think you can make up more ground than that, but I would aim at about 10 steals. So if you have 60 and they have 70, I think you can make that up if that's what you're focusing on.
I think that's fair. Let's move over to the pitching side. Wins, saves. What do you think?
Wins and saves, same thing, about 10. Wins and saves, you have less control over because of the opportunities kind of come up when they come up. But about 10, 3 per week if that's what you're trying to gain on, I would say. Yeah,
and the hard part is going to be, especially as we come down to the final 2 weeks of the season, is there are going to be teams, especially teams who have already locked up playoff spots, that are going to be pulling pitchers early, that may skip starts.
Right.
You're going to see guys get shut down. So you just have to be, again, this is where you have to be really kind of in tune on the news. Make sure you're checking RotoWire or NBC Sports Edge, or read my Roto write-up, which I write daily over at Fangraphs.
Also, make sure the last week, you don't want to be playing closers because it's like 3 or 4 games, so it's only like a half a week. I mean, unless
you're tied or one save.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But so generally you want to be playing like a full roster of 9 starters in that last week if you still have the fab left to adjust your roster. So that's another reason I like to save. I try to save money for the last week is because that's where you can make up points on people, because some people won't have the ability to do that or the know-how or to think about like, okay, I don't want to really be playing closers that last week. You want to be, putting all your, like, if who's starting in that final week, you want to play those guys.
I missed batting average, so go back to that.
Oh, yeah. So batting average probably about 10 points. 10 points might be too much, honestly, but somewhere.
It's not enough.
You think you can make them more than that?
You can. Todd Zola has done some really, really great work on the ratio categories. And one of the reasons why I remembered that we had forgotten batting average because the next ones were ERA and WHIP. They actually move more than any other category. according to the work that Todd Zola has done. So you can gain a ton of room. And as I mentioned earlier, it's the only stats where other people can come back to you, right? If someone goes over, 55 in a week, not that a team is going to go over 55, but they can lose ground and you can gain up. The ratio categories move a lot more than people think. A lot of people think, I can just stream the hell out of guys for strikeouts and wins right now. It doesn't matter who it is as long as I'm getting strikeouts and wins. You can murder yourself.
Oh yeah,
doing that. So just be cognizant.
Well, did you see the Luis start the other day? Oh my God! I mean, like that. I think that moved my ERA, my team ERA, from like 3.7 to 3.9 something. Like just him.
I can't remember who it was in tout that I started that just got absolutely obliterated. Might have been John Heasley, against Detroit, and he threw gave up 7 runs in 2 innings or something like that, and just murdered me.
But another thing to remember: don't play bad pitchers, even if they have good matchups. If they're that bad, it's just not worth it. Like I get that you're trying to get a win and all that stuff, but like guys like Heasley are on my never list. Like I don't care who they're playing.
He did so well in the last start, so I just here's what it is.
They're gonna have those starts, but man, when they're if they're that level of bad, like where their walk rate is higher than their strikeout rate, don't play those guys.
Yeah. And so you said for ERA, you said 50 points from you can go from a 3.5 to a 3 or 10 points whip. I think it's higher in whip. I think you could probably move closer to 20.
Yeah.
I think 50 is about right actually in ERA.
Maybe. I mean, it depends on how many guys you're rolling every week. But like in my Yahoo leagues, I can move it more. In NFBC, it's definitely a lot harder to I don't think I can move that much. I mean, maybe you can, but it's
harder. The deeper the league you're in, the harder it is because there's just less available on the waiver wire. So if you're in a 10 and 12 team league, it's a lot easier to move those because there's a lot better quality on the waiver wire. If you're in a 15 team league, it's harder to do it positively because the guys you're picking up off the waiver wire likely aren't going to go as deep into games, so they won't rack up as many innings, which helps lower those ratios. And the just quality pitcher isn't usually very good, so usually you're not getting good outings. But when you do, it does move things quite a bit.
Yep.
And then strikeouts is the last one.
Yeah, I said about 70. You can probably gain about 20 per week. Now, again, depends on number of 2 starters you have and all that stuff, and if you have guys who are high strikeout pitchers and everything. But if you're let's say you're good in saves, or you can't really move the needle more than 1 up or down in saves, then you're benching all your closers and you're just throwing out a bunch of starters. You can probably gain more than 70, more than 20 per week. But that's about where I would be if I'm trying to focus on that, because anything more than that, if you're trying to, constantly throw out 2 starters, unless you don't care about your ratios, you're going to end up hurting yourself in other things by trying to gain more in Ks.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. Who are we buying back in for next season? So I put together, and you added some names, but I put together some names of guys that have had either atrocious seasons or maybe even just slightly disappointing seasons. Not all of them been atrocious. And I want to just kind of ask you, and obviously I'll give my thoughts as well. Are you thinking you're going to buy back in? We don't know what the price is going to be. We can kind of guesstimate.
Yeah.
But let's start with Trevor Rogers, who is trying to have a strong September once again in order to recoup some of that value. Ryan Bloomfield had tweeted something out about him in his start today, and I quote tweeted, I was like, he's going to ruin the discount we're going to get next year because I'm going to be back in.
Oh yeah,
if the discount is good enough.
It might not be much. I mean, in high stakes leagues, I don't expect there to even be much of a discount, if we're being honest, because I think everybody
that's going to be the unfortunate part. Nick Pollack in the chat yelling, "Do it! Going to be so cheap."
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I was so in on Trevor Rogers this year. I had him everywhere, and he was pretty much my guy. I loved what I saw from him last year, and then this year, it wasn't working. Like, he wasn't throwing the same stuff, and it just wasn't happening for him. But
all about the changeup, man. When that changeup isn't working, the other pitches don't look very good in comparison. And
Exactly.
Here's the thing. I have not watched today's start. It's going to be one of the first things I do as soon as we're done here is I'm going to go back and watch his start from today. But I think his first start back, the changeup looked really good. Second start back, the changeup didn't look so great. And so I want to see him down the stretch. I want to be back in. And I was talking about it with Scott Jenstead earlier today on Twitter. And he was like, nobody who drafted him this year is going to be back in. I was like, I potentially will be back in.
Scott is notoriously like super hard headed about things. Like he does not like getting burned by guys. And for me, I'm completely like, I don't care what you did to me in the past. I wipe the slate clean every year and I look at it objectively. I try to look at it objectively for the next year.
I sniped him on Trevor Rogers in our second main event, the one where he is second overall right now. And
Good
so
for him.
I told him I feel like I have a little bit to do with him being that high because I sniped him on fucking Trevor Rogers. But yeah, I think I will be back in depending on what the price is. If the price is back to like being a 5th, 6th rounder like it was this last year, there's no way I'm doing it. I won't.
That's probably too high for me as well. And it's too bad we don't have, Nick's watching. Too bad we don't have him on, because one of the things that I do when a guy every day I try to read Nick's SP roundups on Pitcher List. He does a phenomenal job of breaking down pitchers and their stuff. And Nick knows far more about that stuff than I do. So, I just try
one of my go-to articles is Nick's SP roundup. Unfortunately for me, Nick has been doing them a little bit later. And so I'm already done with my article for the night by the time his comes out. But it's I sent him the link in case he wants to just jump in here. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, so Nick could talk more in terms of the, technical stuff with Trevor Rogers, but all I can tell you is that I still believe in the guy's talent. I think he's an ace who just needed to make some adjustments. And like you said, there he is. What's going on?
I missed y'all. It's been so long, and
you're
doing a wonderful job. I just want to say hi.
How you doing, brother? It's always great to see you.
Yeah, guys, keep going.
You tell us what you're seeing with Rogers recently.
Well, I love that his changeup is back a bit. He's keeping it down a ton, and that's the beauty. That's everything we want. I mean, obviously the slider has to be there too, and that was a major part of it last year. It's what we saw in the second half that disappeared.
Exactly,
we didn't get it back this year, but just getting four-seamer changeup locked in is really important. And we've seen that now, and it's believable that Rogers can then do the next step next year. I'm thinking like Rogers is not going to get drafted in 12 teamers. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm really bad at this right now. It's December, and I'm in my own little bubble. So I don't know.
He's one of those guys though. Like if he finishes out the month strong, he gets probably three or four more starts. Like he's going to be the most written about guy. He's going to be the buyback guy, right?
Why do you have to ruin everything, random fantasy people?
I just know, like I spend all draft season covering ADP. Like that's one of my reoccurring articles is ADP movement, and I just know that's what's going to happen. Like if he goes out and shoves throughout the rest of the year, like he's going to be everybody's favorite sleeper.
Well, okay, so if the slider isn't there, then I'll be out at whatever that that value is, I guess. But I don't know. Like this is the joy for me is when guys that are completely off the radar for the entire year or something like that, then finally they're doing good things again, and no one's paying attention at first. And I'm just like, this is so much fun, and then it just ruins everything. I guess the Nationals twice now. It's gonna be so good.
Oh yeah, well there you go. I think if you are an early drafter, if you're like me and you like those November, December, January drafts, he's going to be
do you
much
participate
cheaper.
In the early mock drafts? Do you do those? The 2 early mocks? Do you do those at all?
I did not do them this last year. I don't know if I will do them again this year.
I'm just joking that you're the creator of them. You should do them again.
Yeah,
those are fun, man.
They're a pain in the ass, is what they are.
I know. I mean, I ran 4 mock drafts at the same time once or twice, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm good doing that.
It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
What's going on at Pitcher List these days?
Oh, lots of stuff. There is something that I'll show you behind the scenes, both of you, that I cannot share until I think I'm gonna like do the first 2 hours of PitchCon, doing a whole presentation on this.
Ooh,
So,
okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I am too.
A little
Hopefully
teaser for months in advance.
Yeah. But
I mean,
lots
you
of
know,
stuff.
Nick always promoting, so you know you gotta
Gotta be. What's right? How could you not be? You know, isn't the thing always be ABCs is always be promoting, right? That's what it is.
Yep.
That's what
Yeah, I think promoting begins with the C. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a silent
Okay.
C, but yeah, exactly.
So promoting. That's it. Nailed
All right.
it.
Well, while we have Nick on with us, why don't we go over the rest of the other like 4 pitchers on this list so he can break
sweet,
down what
yes.
he's seen from it. So starting with Lucas Giolito, are we buying into, because he's been a little bit better in the second half? It's still not what we were hoping for. Anyone who drafted him, obviously in the first couple rounds, he has not provided value, but he is recovered a bit. What do we think about him going into next year?
Man, so I'm trying to get a personal idea of like, or just a gauge of what the top 40 looks like.
Yeah.
I don't think Lucas Giolito will be in that. Maybe he will.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Then I'm in, because I
think
see
he
this
will
as a
be.
lost season a bit. I see this as Giolito not getting, like, I'm very much a believer of rhythm. I believe that pitchers are humans and they feel like, cool, they got to get locked into this thing and then they can just go off and do it. It's what the Vargas rule is. It's what Martin Perez just did for the entire year. Miles Michaelis and Merrill Kelly and so on. And Lucas Giolito got disrupted by it, had reduced velocity a bit, has not been able to really get rhythm of that stuff. And I think he needs one of those magical off seasons. I think he needs one of those, okay, I just got to reset everything and start it back up. And he got displaced from the opening day when he got hurt. And I feel as if, okay, if I don't have to pay like top 150 pick for this guy, then yes, I will 100% go after him at like 180, 190. I'll take a chance, because he hasn't actually been bad really in the second half. He's been like still worthwhile in a 12-teamer. So
worthwhile, but definitely not what you.
No, but that's still like pick 180, 190 in a 12-teamer. Like if you get a guy that you're not dropping, that's good, because you normally drop that in season. So and with that, the upside for more is great.
It's probably oversimplifying things, but you know, looking at the stuff with him, the number one thing is the velocity drop. I mean, going from he was at 94 the last 3 seasons.
Oh yeah, 91.8 last game,
and now. Yeah, and now to be down to like that 91 to 93 range is real bad. And the funny thing is, and I guess this shows kind of how little training camp matters, but I remember in my notes I had his velocity was up. I think he was up to like 90. He was sitting like 96, I want to say. And so I was like really excited about him for this year. So that's why I actually ended up taking him in one of my high stakes leagues in the second round, which was a poor decision. But his
I took him in a league where I didn't realize that Yahoo rankings had Sandy Alcantara underneath him. And I was really like, I was just a hometown league or something like that. I was just really casual. But I just assumed Alcantara and Wheeler were gone. And like, I took Giolito, and then Alcantara went 6 picks later. I was like, I have gone so much against every essence of my soul right now. And I tried making deals with the guy after and everything. I think I actually even tried to do a Giolito Goldschmidt for Alcantara and Matt Olson, which I guess worked out maybe. But I mean, like,
Giolito's been damn good, but Olson's been solid too. So
so I don't know. It's just I could have had Goldschmidt and Alcantara. All right.
Right.
Should have. Sorry.
But I mean, I just feel like a lot of these guys that we've got in this section here, Justin, I think a lot of velocity issues. And I don't know how much of that you can really predict from one season to the next.
Yeah.
Like, are they gonna recover? Next season, are we expecting Giolito to be back up, or do we I don't know what to think. Is it a mechanics thing?
I think it is a mechanics thing. I honestly, that's what I think it is. I think he's just been so hittable in the zone. And
that happens when you lose 1 to 2 mile an hour velocity. You're incredibly
you're in the danger zone. He's in the danger zone. Talks about a lot of like 91 to 94.
Yeah.
And once he at 94, like, okay, cool. Now we're starting to see some, like, that means when you sit 94, that means you're off in 95 and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But if you're sitting 92, then you're just trapped in that range of hittability.
Right. And that's very hittable. And I mean, because the next guy on this list is Eovaldi, and he's famously down in velocity this year.
That's
2 miles an hour.
That's
I've been yelling so much.
Injury related, but
I think I lost my voice after that one, just in fear about Eovaldi seeing 2.5 ticks down when coming back from the injury. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Eovaldi's likely. I mean, he wasn't on my draft board very much this year to begin with, just because of his injury history.
He was doing well before it.
He was, but like this is what happens. Like he's just not a guy who's been able to stay on the mound.
If you get by being an elite fastball guy and you need that velocity, like as opposed to say Shane Bieber, whose velocity is down, but he's always been a bad fastball guy, so he's always relied on his off-speed pitches, which are still effective, So if you're one of those guys who, like Eovaldi, who needs that good fastball, and you no longer have that, you're just screwed.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I overestimated the impact of the lower velocity of Bieber's fastball. Because I saw it as like you have a weakness. Now that weakness is even larger. Now it's like anything they got away with before, you're going to get away with worse. But that didn't happen.
No, I think because his fastball's never been. And
I think that's a really good way of framing it. That makes a lot of sense. I will say this about Eovaldi. The velocity was always the eye opener. But honestly, I don't know. He opened the doors with the cutter and the splitter and the curveball being a big thing. And that actually is what made him finally something, but the velocity was always a big factor that was also there. So I guess that does count. I mean, it's just when you go down 2.5 ticks and something, it's just like, okay, you can't expect goodness.
When you've got a 97 mile an hour fastball and then you've got those good off pitches working off of that 97 mile an hour,
right.
Then it makes them that much more effective. I think they're not still effective on their own, but together the interplay,
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta show before we move on to the next guy. We already, I don't know how long you were watching before you jumped in here, but we talked about the 2023 rule changes. And one of my hypotheses has been that the lack of defensive shifts may make pitchers try to strike guys out more because they don't have that defense behind them. Do you think that is a viable hypothesis, or am I overreaching here?
Nah, I think you're overreaching.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm curious. I remember last year there was a lot of talk about avoiding NL pitchers because of the DH, for example. Right? I don't know if that actually was valid or not. I haven't really given any thought to it.
I haven't either, honestly.
Phil probably has the research on that. I'll have to ask him about it.
But
I know their numbers. Honestly. I know their numbers went up as a result of the DH, but I don't think they were any worse than American League. So I think the idea of avoiding them was silly.
So I mean, I assume your argument here is that because of the shift, they're going to allow more hits inherently. They want to put fewer balls in play, thus they'll try and strike out guys. I'll tell you this. I think a lot of pitchers inherently are just trying to strike out guys. And pitching to contact generally isn't a game plan that you'll see success from guys. Pitching to contact, I'm using air quotes for, really is just saying living on the edges as best you can. And if it turns into strikeouts, great. But you're never going to throw, unless you're like Blake Snell, you're like, my stuff is so good. My goal is to throw four seamers in the zone. It doesn't matter. Pitching to contact isn't really a thing. So I don't think this shit really impacts it.
I would disagree that it's not a thing. It's not a
thing
for everybody.
I meant it like pitching. Let me rephrase that. Pitching to contact, that phrase isn't like how you would imagine, at least how I did, is throwing it definitively in the zone so that with the intention to be hit, while like just pitching around the edges and trying to throw really good pitches versus just trying to get things in the zone. Just trying to get in the zone generally is you have stuff that isn't going to be hit in the first place. Otherwise, you're aiming for the edges. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. So you don't think that there is, there should be like cause for like changing your pitcher draft strategy based on this?
I don't, because the guys that are going to be living on the edges before are going to still be living on the edges. And the guys that are like, hey, I just need to get strikes like Spencer Strider with my fastball. I need to do that. Or I'm Chris or whatever. Like they're still going to do the same stuff.
Isn't that what Seattle did with Robbie Ray? They were like, look, you've got really good stuff, but you can't hit your target.
Exactly. Stop nibbling. You have just
stop trying to hit the corners and just throw it in the zone. They're not going to be able to hit it.
Well, that was Toronto last year. And then
you're right.
Year, they adapted the sinker, which I thought, no way, get out of here. Why is the sinker here? And that's actually been the thing that has saved him. So I'm glad.
Yeah, I stayed away from Ray for the most part because I was just too up in the air with, is this going to work? I do love the environment in Seattle, but I just, seeing his history of walk issues, control issues, is this just magically fixed? And I was like, I don't know, so I'm just going to stay away. But like you said, adding that sinker and everything, it really has worked out there.
Yeah, the other element about the shift stuff, I think that you'll see a lot of pitchers can be really upset about the shift at times.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say you have like a left-handed batter who is always like pulling the ball and stuff, but then they throw changeups away and they don't actually expect them to roll it over. And then they poke it to left and there's a single. It's like that should be right at the sky. Or maybe it's like a left-hander doing the same, or a right-hander doing the same thing, pushing to right field. And you'll see times where like it's a ground ball that should be a double play that they've done so many times in their life, but they were shifted away. I don't know. I might. I'll see if I can find some answers to this about like what is your mentality with the shifts and stuff. I think that's a very good question. I don't think you're going to see like if guys could strike out more batters, they would.
They would, yeah.
You know, I don't really think it's going to affect things in that way.
I do think like guys like Logan Webb. I'm a little concerned about how that's going to affect a guy like him who has a really high walk rate, not as high of a strikeout rate. I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but I don't think I'm drafting him in those top couple tiers of starters next year.
Yeah, well, where is he going? I mean, in my head, he's like 22 or something.
He's going to be.
All right. He's probably going like 4th round last year, maybe.
Yeah, he's going to be a top 15 pitcher. At least I'm pretty sure.
You think
it's
so?
around that. Yeah.
116 WHIP.
Yeah,
He's going to have a hit per 9 around 8, and that's not going away. I don't know. I think he's kind of that guy. There's no problem with that. He's just a worse Max Fried.
Yeah, exactly. And Max Fried was another guy that Justin brought up earlier too, saying like he's probably not going to be as interested in him next year. With
stop it! That changeup is so good. He got better this year.
But I do think that there are going to be increased strikeout numbers because of this. I honestly do.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that if you want to draft an ace at the top, you're going to want a guy who can carry your team in strikeouts.
So
you always want that anyways, though.
I also think walk numbers will be going up this year.
Interesting. I don't know. I will say this: hits allowed should go up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now hits allowed should go up. So strikeout percentages might not.
But we don't play.
And then let's think about this for a second. I'm sorry. I'm just talking out loud, and here I am coming into your podcast. I'm going to talk out loud right now.
No, I love this.
Is the idea is okay? If you're allowing more hits, generally that means that pitchers will go less deep into games, right?
Yeah.
More base runners and stuff. You have to throw more pitches to get more outs, right? Okay.
Correct. Yep.
So I think those that will be affected the most won't actually be the guys at the top of your drafts. I think it will mean like fewer Toby types, like Johnny Cueto and Merrill Kelly.
Yeah, they're not going to survive as much.
Without the strikeouts that they normally get. So when it comes to me in the first couple rounds, I don't think it's going to affect those guys that normally have like a 24% strikeout rate, 25%, something like that. I don't think there's any difference around there. When you're looking at the guys with like an 18%, 20% strikeout rate, then it might actually affect stuff. And hey, Logan Webb, 20.5% K rate right now.
Right on that edge, yeah.
You know, it's kind of, I don't know. Do you drop Logan Webb in the top 15 of starters with a 116 whip and 20?
I'm not.
I just looked up what his dollar. He is the 25th starter this year. So
because of 13 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which obviously doesn't really bear any effect on his skill level.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a little, but yeah, right.
So I guess the Giants going to be next year,
right? And innings per start was still pretty high for Webb this year, over 6, and you always want to see over 6. The league average for a starter 5.2. That's 5.20, not not 5.67.
And I think this might. The way to go about this might be, like you said, it doesn't really affect how you're drafting at the top, but maybe you want to make sure you're drafting more of those guys who are in that good range of K percentage in terms of your depth. Like you need more depth starting pitchers rather than going with the higher guys. You just need to make sure you don't get too many of those lower guys.
Where's Spencer Strider going, guys?
Top 15.
Dave?
Oh, I think easily top 15.
Man, it's so.
I would say second round. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think people are gonna have. I don't think people are gonna have enough faith in him to put him in the first round. But I think with that K percentage, it's really just a longevity issue. Is will people buy in that he's gonna pitch? You know,
I won't pay that price.
I would say late second round.
Man, that's so insane.
I mean, we'll see when main event season comes around. Now, if you're talking about like a typical league, I think we'll go a little later. I always think in terms of the high stakes. That's just
Yeah, so you're saying within the top 30 picks is what you're saying.
I would say
ESPN
so. Yeah.
and Yahoo. Yeah, I don't think he's a top.
No,
50.
I don't think
he's a top 50 pick.
I think he's more like a 4th rounder in those probably.
Okay.
But as maybe as drafts,
Yeah,
'cause he'll be another one of these guys where like people when they're catering to the Yahoos, the ESPNs, the kind of the novice.
I like when you say it to the Yahoos, make it sound like some
right.
Like,
yeah, that's what I was like.
Look, damn Yahoos over there.
I'm gonna play on Yahoo next year, so I'm gonna be among the Yahoos.
Yes. It's so much better.
I don't know that it's I don't know it's so much more fun, but I think more people play on that format than play in an FPC, and so I'm going to cater my content.
I will never forget that In-N-Out burger we got in 2019, Justin Mason, where I asked you to put out that poll asking how many Sleeper in the Bus people play 12-teamers. And it's the heavy majority. And I understand. I know the toil you guys put in with 15-teamers. Oh, God, it is toil.
Oh yeah, there's no question that 12-teamers is what most people play for sure.
Oh man!
So I'll be catering a lot more of my content next year to that.
Oh sweet! All right,
that is the goal. So definitely going to be revamping some stuff.
You'll see how bad I am then.
Well, maybe I need to put together a league with Nick.
Oh man, of a 12-team league.
A 12-team league.
I would be down with that. Of just a smaller of. Yeah, just the guys like, okay, we need experienced 12-teamers. I'm like, come on in. Oh, I'll have a ton of fun.
I'm pretty sure not everybody maybe, but I think most people who have played 15-teamers have played 12s too. I mean, like when I first started playing, it was like, I played 10-teamers back in the day with CDM. They had like they had a draft and play game. Those 10-team leagues, which was just. I hated it because it was just so.
You have too much.
You have too many options. Like there's too many guys. There's too many really good players. Like you're gonna have guys like Ross Stripling who are just gonna be unowned in like 10-teamers. It's just
I would ruin myself in a 12-teamer because I would get so many pitchers because like there's so many. I'm like I love all of this. I'm like with lines and everything. But
you want to be able to play those guys that nobody else knows about, and you can't do that in a 10-team league. Like you have to.
Right. Because it's not even smart to do it. I'm taking too much risk doing that.
Right. Yeah.
Insane. But I mean, okay, so Justin, 12-teamer daily moves though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to check my spreadsheet, but I think they have weekly moves in Yahoo as well as daily. I play the dailies, which are
daily
a lot of work.
Head weekly.
No,
that
Nick,
is what the people play.
No,
what they play.
Bad. That's what they play, but that's bad.
What they play is
I'm telling you what the people play.
Oh yeah, that is what people play.
They play head-to-head points, Nick.
No, they play head-to-head categories.
80% of leagues are head-to-head points leagues.
No, this isn't fantasy football. This is baseball.
I know.
If you're following CBS does that.
No.
Yahoo does not. Yahoo default is head-to-head categories.
Go look at the FGSA stats on this. 80% of leagues are head-to-head points leagues.
And now we've evolved into an argument about whether it's head-to-head roto or head-to-head points.
Sorry, who's the next pitcher? I love this. I jump on. You're like, oh, cool. Well, we're going to cater to Nick and talk about starting pitchers. So,
Freddie Peralta.
Freddie Peralta.
Back in on Freddie Peralta next year, Nick?
I mean, Dave, come on, take this.
I mean, I don't think anybody's taking him that high again. I think there was always a question of whether he'd be able to go deep, and I think we're kind of at that point where it's like he's clearly not able to give you those 200 innings yet. But I don't know where are we thinking he's going to go though is the question. Like, I don't think you're gonna have to buy into him to the degree that you did last year. Obviously,
7th round.
Yeah.
7th round, maybe.
Not for me.
In terms of you're out at 7th round, Nick?
I'm not doing it. It's too
Too
early.
high?
I think like look at this year for me. I mean, I'm thinking 12-team of like from 6 to 10 or so.
Yeah.
It was feast time. That was Manoah, Musgrove, Gausman, Verlander, McClanahan, right? That was my whole area of this. There was Trevor Rogers in there.
We love that. Yeah, I love that range. Yeah.
But but that was where I attacked completely.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was where the value was.
That's I don't want that with Peralta. Peralta has to be past that relatively for me.
Yeah. Now, obviously, a lot of those guys you named are going to go much higher next year now. But
right. But I'm just saying, like, that's what
there will be more of those types of guys in that area.
What I'm saying is that I don't think that depth is gone from last year to this one. Like, Cease was there. Oh, yeah, guys. Hey, me and Cease, I was the guy for Cease. Let me tell you.
I love Cease.
I was not. I'm telling you.
I know. I do remember that now that I'm thinking about it.
Anyone who doesn't know, I was not.
I drafted Cease.
Whatever the price is, no way, not a chance on my
So you're still not loving him, okay?
No, I'm not. I think actually we're kind of seeing it a little bit now in this second half.
He's gonna be a second round pick.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah,
no way. I think he'll go in the first in some main events for sure.
No,
probably. I'm sure he will.
He will at the end of the. I'm 100% sure of that. Yeah,
I'm saying I'm not. Yeah, not a chance. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
Hold on. So let me get this on Cease then. What are you seeing with Cease that you're just out on?
It's a one pitch thing with a slider, and I still have too much fear about the four seamer and curveball. I just don't think that good. And
command wise or just the whole
command wise, and the stuff has been like the slider is good, is so good when it works. Like hard contact allowed is one of the lowest, and he threw it. He upped its usage from like 30% to 45%, which I didn't see coming. I would have been more in on Cease, but still probably less so if everybody had that information. But I think that it's too hyper reliant on one pitch like that. And it's
kind of a Patrick Corbin type deal.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's got a better fastball, but
I'm trying to think of where this like messed us up in the past a bit.
Two pitch. I always avoid the two pitch guys. Like I need to see
generally what Cease has become. I don't trust this curveball to be in any way reliable. It's just like one of the best sliders in the game is the thing.
Right.
So
right.
But I don't think the fastball is good enough.
Okay, that's fair. All right. So Frankie Montas, what do we think about him for next year?
Is he still a Yankee? No, right? Is he? I don't know.
I think he has one more year.
They didn't get. Oh, you mean next year? Yeah.
Oh God. My bias is hitting in of like the Yankees are just so bad at bringing in these guys. Like it just doesn't work, I'm probably not going to deal with it. I think that overall Montas, like when it works, it's sinkers getting outs, fastballs and sinkers finding the zone enough and not getting destroyed, with splitters getting whiffs and sliders essentially just existing. And I think it's not like with a lot of these guys to be excited about and then we rely on, there's something clear and obvious about them. That is just like, oh yeah, look, I mean, McClanahan, dude, he throws super hard and all that kind of stuff. Alcantara, he does that and he goes deep and all this kind of stuff. It's like, it makes sense as to why they're having their success. And when it's a splitter and the fastballs are kind of susceptible, I'm out. I think he's going to have moments of being great, but I think a full season of that it's going to be tumultuous.
I agree. It's weird to see a guy with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball who throws a splitter, which is the highest like swing and miss pitch. For most guys who have a splitter, that's like the biggest swing and miss pitch. It's weird to see those two things together, and it just doesn't seem to work at a level that you'd expect it to.
Well, it's just not consistent. Is the problem?
Well, it's a splitter. Never consistent. Yeah.
No, you're talking to the right guy, Dave.
I'm with you on that. I don't think he's going to go super high. But I think it depends too on where he ends up in terms of innings. Cause I think people are going to look at the fact that he threw 187 in 2021. And if he hits about 180 this year, I think people are going to look at that and be like, okay, well, you're getting a lot of innings from him, but I don't know that they're going to be as good of innings as you want them to be.
Now, would you rather take Nick Lodolo or Frankie Montas?
Oh man, that's an interesting question.
I'm so curious to see where Nick Lodolo goes next year.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I think Lodolo is going to go a lot later than.
I don't know a lot.
I don't know.
I don't think a lot.
It depends also how September goes.
The problem is that Lodolo is only going to be at like 100 innings plus the 12 innings that he threw in the minors,
and he pitches in Cincinnati on a bad team. Montas is going to go much higher than Lodolo.
Oh yeah, no question he's going to go higher. But Nick asked, "Would I rather?"
That's what I'm saying. Because
but I know, but like at the same, like let's say it's the 12th round or something, or you're taking Montas or Lodolo. I'm not saying that their price. I'm saying,
like,
well, I don't think Montas won't be there in the 12th round. So
no. I don't know where it is. I'm just saying, like, Would you at any point would you rather take Lodolo or?
I think Nick's just saying he'd take Lodolo straight up.
I might.
And
I don't know.
I think I would. I think I would too.
But
I think I would, but I'm not taking him that high that I have to rely on him for innings. You know, like he needs to be like my number, 3 or 4 starter at highest. But I love he has that upside of like not necessarily McClanahan, but he's that kind of same kind of guy. Like you don't feel good about him getting to like 180 to 200 innings, but the stuff is so good.
He's so fun. I mean, we had concerns about like Alek Manoah, for example, going after 115 innings or something. I'm like, does not matter. I think if Shane McClanahan didn't get hurt in any way, like he'd be just fine, I think we're seeing this more with young guys where once they get over like the 110 mark, the next year teams are just like, all right, let's go. I think everything that they've tried to do with the Strasburg rules is getting kind of disproven. Because guys are going to get hurt regardless. And a lot of teams are just like, all right, let's just try and make you into a workhorse then. To be a workhorse, you have to be a workhorse. You have to like do the thing. So as long as you're not hurt, we're just going to keep going for a lot of these younger pitchers is what I'm seeing at least. And the first year, it's going to be more limited. But then the second one, it's like, all right, whatever. So we might see Lodolo just like pitch every 5 days. And that's not
I think
I hope we do.
I think what you were saying before is basically, with pitching compared to hitting, there's so many guys that are just going to get injured regardless of what their injury history is. I try to stay away from the guys who have like DeGrom coming into the season, where I know something's wrong right off the bat. Those guys are what I try to avoid. But then you're right.
Like Verlander this year.
Verlander this year?
Mm-hmm. He was one of those guys
that was injured coming into the season.
That we knew wasn't gonna hold up.
I didn't say he wasn't gonna hold up.
I have audio. I will find it.
Would you like to present it to the court?
I probably didn't think he was going to hold up, but it's completely different than DeGrom coming into the season because DeGrom was already hurt.
I'm just messing with you.
I know you're a dick.
Not into DeGrom.
What's Verlander's K rate though? Like he's not the same guy. He's had to change himself over this season. He's still good.
He's a unicorn.
Yeah. He is. He is. But if you want to bet on the 40-plus-year-olds, getting through full seasons, that's fine. You can do that.
I was there with you.
Nelson Cruz.
I think the biggest surprise that you want to talk about injuries, if you want to do that game, Carlos Rodon is still doing everything. Yeah.
So why did the White Sox not offer him the arbitration offer? Like that's ridiculous.
Why did they sign La Russa?
They didn't know what.
I mean, they didn't know. I think a lot about his injury status at that point. And they didn't want to be on the hook for it. I don't know. I'm trying to help.
There's absolutely
you're letting an ace go on a team that's competing for a World Series. That's beyond dumb. I mean, the only reason you do that is because you're concerned about his medicals.
I've got the answer for you, and you're not listening to it. The answer is the same. Is a different question. Why did they hire Tony La Russa as manager? They're inept. That's the answer because there is no bad 1-year contracts. So giving him $18.5 million for the year or $20 million, whatever it was for this year, there is no bad 1-year deal. Like if they had signed him to a 6-year deal or a 5-year deal, that would have been a really poor use of resources. But they didn't have to. All they had to do is give him the qualifying offer. He turns it down. They get the draft pick. He goes away, or he signs it, which he probably would have done.
I'm trying to think of like terrible 1-year deals now that you say that.
There is no such thing as a bad 1-year deal because it's only 1 year.
Goes. I'm messing around, of course. Syndergaard? That's fine.
They got something in return for us. Like it turned out to be fine.
That's true. That is true. They did get something for him. I don't know how,
but that's such a sad state of affairs. Yeah. Thor is a Toby. Like that's just so wrong to me. Like it's like Flenderson showed up with like the hammer, like for Halloween or something. That's what's going on.
I hope he gets back to form at some point.
He
but
won't.
I just don't see it. Yeah, no, I don't see it either.
No.
All right, one last guy before we
before you kick me out, please. My God.
I do. I really appreciate you being here, just randomly jumping in.
Of course, this is my favorite thing. I go on YouTube every so often at night before I do the roundup and I stall. And sometimes I see Bench with Bubba. Sometimes I see Friends of Fantasy Benefits, and I always love popping in and seeing what you guys are doing.
I really, really appreciate it. All right, so I'm gonna go with let's see, Fernando Tatis Jr.
Oh God,
he is suspended for I think 45 or 48 games. He plays shortstop. In case you didn't know that.
Oh, did he? Oh, really? I thought he played center field.
I know.
Isn't he also outfield eligible still? Is he still outfield eligible?
I don't believe he will be outfield eligible.
No? Okay.
What is your thoughts on Tatis?
Why
I'm
would
giving you an easy hitter.
Oh my! I mean, okay. First of all, I can do things. All right. Second of all,
I want to.
I'm not touching this. I'm not going to do this. Why would I do this?
I want to bring you on the podcast for like the third base preview.
And I'll blow all of you out of the water. No. But no, I mean, with Tatis Jr., it's kind of interesting actually to look at the first round of this year's drafts and how many bust hitters there were.
We're gonna talk about a bunch of them here.
Yeah. And I mean, at least with Tatis, like, there, Dave is obviously gonna be like, "Hey, injury stuff. Hey, what's up?" Clear a void, I imagine. I'm all for that. I'm on Dave's side completely when it comes to the first and second round. Just so we're clear here.
And just so we're clear, this is only I only avoid those big risks in the first couple rounds. When we're talking about later in the draft, I'm looking at drafting those high risks because at that point I'm not relying on those players to carry my teams. That's when if you hit, it's like a lotto ticket. Hey, now I've got this great player that I can add in, and if they don't, I shrug and I throw them away and get someone else. Yeah,
right. I'm with you there. So yeah, Tatis, no way.
Yeah,
get real, Mr. Balloon Hands. I don't want this.
You want some more hitters?
I mean, always the first 5 rounds are only hitters for me.
No, I think Justin's asking if you want to comment.
I know. What? Go! Come on, Mason, bring it.
All right. Next guy on the list is Luis Robert.
Oh,
no, not touching that one either. No, he's gonna be drafted in a way of like, oh, cool, no potential 30-30 guy, all this kind of stuff. He's gonna be going the first 2 rounds. And again, it's just like, no, give me Freddie Freeman. Like, give me.
So
Jose Ramirez is like 1-2 or something next year. Trey Turner.
We were actually talking about Freeman earlier. It turns out he's been affected by the shift a significant amount. Can you imagine him hitting an even higher average? Like,
yeah, I mean, where is he at? Like, what, 20 home runs though? It's a little.
That's true.
But I mean, that should come back though. That's something that like, I don't know. I think we give hitters.
He is at 19. Yeah,
19. See, you didn't know. You see, haha.
I didn't. I don't know him anywhere. I did not know that.
I don't roster him anywhere either. Actually, by the way,
he's hitting 330, so that does help.
Yeah, not 330 bombs, sadly. Just
but he's also one of these guys.
He has 11 steals too, and with the bigger base next year, he's going to keep running.
Bigger bases, pitchers not being able to disengage from the rubber more than twice.
That blows my mind. I think that's the thing that bothers me the most.
I did not know this when Justin said. I'm like, that can't be
it's right. Like, okay, imagine Dave Roberts, 2004. We all knew. I know. I wouldn't have believed you either.
Yeah.
With like, you got it. Everyone knows Dave Roberts is stealing. The thing is, you can only throw over 3 times. If you don't have him out on the 3rd time, he steals the base. It's over. No. The third, you do it twice. You can do it one more. You have one more chance to do it.
No, you can only disengage twice.
No. You can disengage twice. No, I read this. I actually was about to put out a tweet with exactly what you're saying, but then I realized I read it again. You disengage twice, and then on the 3rd disengagement, if a runner is not out or something, if there isn't a scenario that creates it, then he gets the base, right? So essentially means if you pick off twice, you're not going to do it again. So you take the big lead. Yeah. But the problem with this, do you guys know the old paradox of the teacher giving a test? And the teacher's on Friday tells the class, I'm going to give you a pop quiz next week, but you will not know what day I'll be giving you the pop quiz. Okay. All right. So the kids that weekend, they'll meet up to go, when are they going to give the pop quiz? Well, Lucy raises her hand and says, well, she can't give it Friday. She says, why can't you give it Friday? Well, because if you haven't given a test on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then we'll know that it's Friday. They go, oh, right. That's very smart, Lucy. Okay. Then Fred raises his hand and goes, wait, well, if you know it's not Friday, Then after Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then it has to be on Thursday, and so on and so forth. So what I'm getting at is, as a pitcher, if you're trying to like throw a guy out at first, you're trying to pick him off after the first one, the guy knows you're not going to try a second one, because then you're going to risk the third one. And like, this is madness. This is madness. You're going to see massive, massive leads. You're going to see so many stolen bases because of that rule.
Yeah.
Because pitchers will not want to disengage to risk any chances to throw them out on an actual massive lead. And it sucks. I think that's the worst part. I'm all for the pitch clock. I know how slow the game is, but you can't do it with men on base.
Yeah.
If that's the way it actually is, there's no way that can last. There's just no way.
I mean, that's it. That's in the rules.
That's crazy.
They want it to be that way.
I mean,
how much do you think? Because I mean, this is one of the other things I was talking about in terms of actual, like, how it is going to bother pitchers. Like, that's going to mess with pitchers' timing and mechanics.
Yeah. I mean, already Thor is going to be worthless next year. He already gives up too many stolen bases. This is like automatic now.
If you're going to stream stolen base guys, just target whoever.
Unfortunately, John Lester retired.
I was about to say John Lester.
But honestly, like, it turns every pitcher into John Lester now.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it really does. It's crazy to me. And yeah, you're going to see stolen bases go up. So actually, you can make an argument that, I mean, who is the most well-rounded 4-category guy? Because he might be Vlad Guerrero. I don't know who you would say, because Soto fell off a bit. Jordan. Okay, but injury stuff. Are we still past that, or are we not? I don't know. But anyway, like Aaron Judge, you could argue.
Yeah,
like injury.
He
stuff
runs
aside.
Though. My
point is like Turner automatically being 1-1, right? For the stolen base stuff.
Yeah.
Not a thing anymore. Okay. You understand what I'm getting at, though? Like the 5-category guy having to be number 1-1, maybe not, because you're going to see all these stolen bases.
Because you're going to be able to get enough from other places that you don't
exactly.
I've always drafted my teams where if I'm not getting steals from a guy early, I'm not drafting him as a hitter. Now I'm going away from that. Now I'm more looking at power and average and speed. It's going to be something that I feel like I'm probably going to be able to find pretty easily.
I mean, Tree Turner is pretty good this year.
Oh, yeah.
Not a thing anymore. I know 20 home runs, but like 20, 90, 96, 24, 306. You're like, not a thing anymore, as in like, get out of here.
We don't listen to Justin when he talks, Nick. You're new here, so you don't understand. But when Justin talks, we let it go into the ethos. Let it go. And
here's the counter argument, though, because if there are more stolen bases league wide, you're going to need more in order to compete at a high level, right? So, like, I don't know that you want to ignore it. Like, I don't know that like this puts like a Jordan in conversation for a first round pick, because he's not going to steal, or even like Vlad Guerrero Jr., though I think he's actually stolen some bases this year. I don't think it pushes him up necessarily, because I think you're going to need more stolen bases in order to compete. And so you're still going to want the guys who are 5 categories. I just don't think it's a necessity. And I definitely want to prioritize batting average, especially over and power over more than I would in the past.
I mean, like, I'm just kind of like, this is like the first time we're really looking at all of like hitters this year in one massive grouping.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just Judge.
Yeah.
It's just Judge and I guess Goldschmidt, you know, all these schmucks underneath.
The question is, like, what does Judge's value become when he's not in New York? Because I mean,
you're gonna stop talking right now. Oh no, don't
he's
even.
In a Giants
when he's not in New York. When?
I mean, if he's a Met, like, then it's fine, right?
All right, Mason, right here, right now. Let's make a wager.
Yes.
Judge stays in New York, I say.
Okay.
All right.
With the Yankees.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And you're saying he's not. What is the bet here?
So.
Right. So what is happening at first pitch Arizona or Florida?
Well,
or the next
I don't think it'll happen by then.
Yeah, Tout Wars.
Yeah. So it'll have to be in New York at Tout.
Yeah, Tout Wars. What happens?
Are we doing something embarrassing? Or are we like, are you buying me dinner?
I mean, it could just be as simple as I'm buying you dinner. you know,
Yeah, I mean,
which
I'm
is,
totally
I mean, your
fine.
dream, but not going to happen.
If you would like, I would be happy.
I couldn't take dinner from you, Justin. It'd be too easy. Like, you know, I can't do that.
I've been dieting too. Won't be as big of his bill.
Oh yeah,
last year.
congrats.
Yeah.
That's
I've already
great.
lost 20 pounds. Yeah,
dude. In your Discord, you're there. We have a diet bet channel. You should
I know.
be a part of it.
I should. I am.
Dude, do
Discord,
it. It is good, man. We've seen a lot of people do some great things in there.
Loser has to draft their Tout Wars team in the Justin Mason bathing suit.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You would do that anyway. I'm not gonna do that. All right, I'll get. You know, you'll get me dinner. That's fine with me.
Okay.
Easy peasy. Means I get to have dinner with Justin Mason, and that's a win.
And Danielle
for me, regardless. Oh, and Danielle too. Sweet.
Yeah,
even better.
Sure,
that's the real reason.
I think the question we haven't gotten to yet for you, which I think is the most important question: are you going to be at first pitch?
Arizona?
Yeah,
of course.
Yes.
Oh man, I was on the initial like advertising. What is happening here? I don't know, Dave. You're just what's up with your camera? I've been wondering this entire time.
It's awful. Every week there's a different problem with Dave's camera.
What a camera is it?
I think it's just the stock one on his laptop or whatever.
No, it's not a laptop. It's a desktop. It's I don't know. It's typical. I mean, it's probably from like 2007. Maybe that's why what the issue is. But I have no idea.
Right, I'll give you a webcam when I see you first pitch.
I don't know.
All right, Dave.
Actually.
If you're going to be at first pitch Arizona, I'll give you a webcam. Okay, buddy?
There you go. That's the reason to go. If you're not going to be at first pitch, you're missing out.
Why would you go?
It's an absolute blast. I highly recommend that everybody go to first pitch. Nick and I will be there. My wife will be there. Dave may or may not be there. Paul Sporer will be there. It'll be a ton of fun. Is Alex Fast going this year?
Alex Fast is going.
Oh yes, I love.
Okay,
that.
all right, okay. That's a different. That's a different reaction than when I said I was going. All right, get together, Mason.
I get to see you at Tout. He's not going to travel to Tout.
Oh, that's true. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's in Tout. I'm like, oh, right. No, he's in LA.
He's not in New York anymore. Yeah.
I know.
Where does he? Where's Alex?
I built this room for him. You know, for me and him to do this together here, and he moved to LA.
Where?
LA.
No,
yeah.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The correct answer was Los Angeles. Cha cha cha.
Oh no! Don't do that to him. we were getting past this, you know.
And then I guess the next question is:
Let's do a whole segment at PitchCon on this.
Yeah, that was months ago.
Nicholas,
months ago.
What movie of Alex Fast are we going to break down at PitchCon?
Oh my god! I mean, there's so many to choose from.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, after this,
apologize to the listeners for this complete devolvement over the last 20 minutes.
This has been fantastic.
Let me send you guys the thing after this. I don't want to forget. But yeah, I can't wait to share with everybody something we're calling PLV.
I need to see this.
February. Yeah, I'll send it to you. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us on the fly. Everybody, make sure you're following Nick on Twitter at Pitcher List. Go over to Pitcher List, and just the player pages are the best in the business.
Oh man,
join the
that
Discord.
Means a lot coming from you.
Become a member. It is a fantastic resource which I use daily. I write daily. I use pitcherlist.com daily. So make sure you are checking it out. And supporting all their pods. They've got 74 million pods over there.
I don't know if you can support all of them. I mean, support
are there enough hours in the day? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
What the crazy part is, Nick has like 74 million pods over there, and he's never asked me to host one.
Well, I've heard you host.
Oh, to host? Well, I mean, I enjoyed you as a guest. You've been a wonderful guest.
That's true.
Sometimes calling you when you're going into a tunnel.
This is true. Yeah, you guys haven't called me.
I mean, Caleb Smith hasn't done it.
Caleb Smith hasn't done it.
Blame him.
So. Oh my god! But if you go on one of Nick's pods, you will get a list of about 47 rules that you have to follow, which is quite extensive.
Well, first of all, I thought what you were going to say is all the suggestions to help with your audio and video setup, like lowering your gain so you don't clip a lot on this. If someone read the private chat, of
I did not have this when I went on the wire a year ago, so this might be new.
I'm just saying. I'm here to make everybody sound and as best as they can. And
I can probably use that help. How about the way we look on our?
I'll just have to bring you on to Nick Pollack and Friends then, Dave. We'll make that happen this offseason, especially if you're in Arizona. Then clearly we'll see.
Oh, okay. All right.
I feel like I should get a return visit to Nick Pollack and Friends.
This is true. I've started to do that, and I think it's.
Have you gotten through all your friends once yet, though? I mean, you have to get through everyone. You get through
never. I've so many.
A greedy bitch who wants to go back on again and again and again.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'd enjoy it. I'd have a great time. So why the heck not? I mean, that's just my excuse to be able to talk to all y'all. So
we love having you on, Nick. Anytime we're breaking down any kind of pictures, and make sure you read his SP roundups too. So it's basically him. Every single day, all the
kind of right line. It's 12:30. My God,
all the pictures that go in a day. Nick gives a
the roto
breakdown.
Oh Lord, oh my God, how do we do this? Oh my God, 3 more weeks, we got it, no problem.
and then the next season prep.
It's a short slate, Nick. You got like 4 games. You're all right.
I'll be okay. All right. I can't just phone things in, Dave.
You don't phone things in, but it's only like a quarter of what it usually is. So I've
already got the pun for tonight. It's Trevor Rogers taking a trip to Trevorland. Easy. I sometimes make it just for the graphic. I know Justin Paradis is going to make the best graphic for that. So
Justin
Paradis is a fantastic graphic guy.
Oh, look at this. Oh, he literally just said this to me.
What time do you? Because you finished this like late in the morning.
Yeah, I finished this normally like 1 a.m., 1:30. I have an editor in Belgium who reads it, and then
Belgium.
He sends it off at 2:30 because he's up and stuff.
And so, what about the graphic Justin Paradis?
Justin and I chat every night in the week, 11 p.m. and we exchange names, and then he sends it to me.
Oh, okay. So he already had it from before you wrote the article.
No. But we exchanged. Okay, who's it gonna be? Who are we gonna go over? And I'm like, all right, I guess it's Trevor Rogers. It's an East Coast bias because stupid West Coast games. Man.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should be. You should be. I've extended this podcast far too long. I'm so sorry, everybody.
We have no problem doing 2 or 3 hour podcasts.
No, that's bad. Used to, frankly.
Oh, man. This is so brilliant. I wish you guys can see this right now. Can I share my screen? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think you can. There's a share on there.
Look at this. Look at this beautiful thing. If you push this up into oh my God, taking a trip to Trevorland.
That's beautiful.
Justin Paradis, buddy.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Justin actually, the years I have done the Friends of Fantasy Benefits draft guide, which may be coming back this year.
Oh, nice.
He has done the cover for it. So,
wonderful.
Throw him a little bit of cash, and he does amazing work.
Justin's incredible. Yeah,
I try to refer people over to him as often as I can because he's just a really good dude.
What a wonderul guy.
Wait,
but anyway, Dave.
I'm wrong. Actually, it wasn't Justin the cover, but my bad. Justin does great work either way. it was Jory DeVing, actually. Jory, I apologize.
Oh boy,
Justin does great. Maybe Justin will do the next one.
Do you have any more questions on why he's never asked you to host one of his shows before?
What a save!
Fuck.
All
right,
well, guys, David, Justin, it's great to see you both.
Good to see you, Nick. Thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, my pleasure. My absolute pleasure. And
next time you see us recording, just let me know. I'll throw you back in.
I'll just be there in chat. I'll be there.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye, Nick.
All right. Well, that was a fun little detour that we had there. Let's move on and talk about our exercise. The rest of our guys are hitters because we just put all the pitchers up to the top.
Yeah.
For Nick, let's talk about Bo Bichette, who's doing his best to kind of recoup
a lot
of the value.
What a monster September he's having.
Yeah, he's just been crushing it in the month of September. That being said, it's
Yeah.
still been a disappointing year considering he was pretty widely taken in the top 5. So 24 home runs, 9 stolen bases, being 281. Those numbers look a lot better than they did a month ago, like you were just mentioning.
Yeah.
Are you going to go back to the well on Bo Bichette next year?
Man, I mean, because here's the thing: he's got 9 steals, but he got caught 8 times, so it's not like he's not running. And I'm imagining if he hadn't gotten, I mean, granted, last year he only got caught once, right? Like, I guess you really can't assume that type of efficiency. So I definitely think you're still going to. I think the expectation should have always been about 20 steals, but with everything, God, you've got like that red light on the background. But now I think 20 steals plus, the addition for next year, I think he's going to probably run even more. So, but that's all relative because everybody else is running even more too. So, I think you're going to get 25 plus homers from him. I mean, the max EV is what, last year he was at 115 and this year he's at 111. So, I don't know if that 115, I haven't looked into that one particular hit or if there's like whatever, if he's hitting it on the ground or in the air, obviously that matters. So I don't know. I haven't really looked into him much. I only own him in one league, but I think he'll still be probably in that like second round, area. He'll probably go around with some of those other combo guys go. I don't think he's going to be going in the first round though.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go. I think he's going to be kind of the Trevor Story guy who drops to the third round in a lot of drafts. If he's in the third round, I'll be there. Like I'll be totally fine with that. Like what did we say? We want to prioritize guys who've got power and batting average, right?
Right.
I think the power is still there. I think the batting average is definitely still there. He's hitting 500 in the month of September.
Oh yeah, I know he's absolutely crushing in September.
Unreal, on fire right now. Yeah, I got him for a discount in my 3 sport draft. I felt like he fell way too far. I think I'm gonna go back to the well on Bo Bichette. Gotta love that lineup. Gotta love the division that he plays in. I just think it's gonna be too good of a value. Even if he's just in the second round, like I think that's a fine value for him.
I don't think he'll fall as far as like Trevor Story did because Story was always kind of like, not always, but in 2021, you kind of saw he was no longer a positive in the average category now that he's outside of Colorado. So this year he's hitting 238. What?
Let's talk about Story because he's going to be coming up on the list. So I mean, it's a pretty easy transition. He was hitting really, really well before getting injured last night. Now it doesn't seem like it's a serious injury. Are you going to go back to the well on Trevor Story? Because I think now you've had another disappointing season. And it's been
Is it though? I mean, he got hurt, yes, but I mean, 16 homers, 13 steals in 400 at-bats. I think the average is lower than you wanted. But again, you're outside of Coors now, so you probably should have been expecting that anyways. But I think that, the power's still there. The speed will still be there. He will be 30, so maybe he won't run as much. But I think he'll probably go in that 4th, 5th round range, right? He went 3rd round this year. Is that right?
Yeah, he was going about 3rd, 4th round, depending
3rd, 4th.
on
so he'll probably go, I would say 5th round maybe next year. I think I might be a buyer at that point. Depends on my team makeup and whether I can afford.
Well, and here's the thing. He's going to be second base eligible next year because he's played second base all year. So he's not going to be part of that really, really thick shortstop, position. Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to drop farther than 5th round. If he's 5th round or later, I'm in.
Okay.
I'm absolutely in.
Yeah. By the way, I looked it up. Tatis is eligible for the outfield, so it'll be short.
Oh,
and
is he? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's helpful. I'm still not going to be in on him.
Yeah.
Even with the shoulder.
Right.
Even with the shoulder surgery, it's great that he got the shoulder surgery. I think that's awesome. I think that's the right decision. He's just going to be missing too many games. Like I'm not going to hold him on my roster for that long because like even in leagues if we step away from NFBC leagues, and we talk about Yahoo or ESPN, typically those leagues are shallow benches with IL spots, but he won't qualify for IL spots. So you're going to have to burn one of your maybe 3 to 5 bench spots in an ESPN or Yahoo league. Absolutely not. I'm not going to do that for a third of the season.
Well, in Yahoo, they usually have IL slots, but yeah, I hear you.
But he won't be eligible for IL slots.
Oh, right.
He's suspended. He's not injured.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So, There's no way I'm touching him.
No, but I was glad to see that he decided to get the shoulder fixed, because that was always the reason, not the reason, but one of the reasons that I was never going to buy back into him for this year. Because I was like, even when he comes back from a different injury, he's still not going to be healthy. And, finally, I think he forcibly is maturing now that everything's kind of falling out for him. But I'm glad that he'll, at least when he comes back, okay, he's actually good to go for once. By the way, really proud of Nick for starting to talking about the injury risk and how he's he was out on the early injury risks too, considering all the shit he's given me in the past about injury risk. So Nick, good to hear that you're on board now, buddy.
Next guy is Juan Soto. Now Juan Soto, another one of these guys where you didn't lose your league because Juan Soto didn't perform like a first rounder, but you're definitely not happy with what you've gotten from him this year.
No, you definitely didn't win your league because of him either.
Yeah, absolutely not. Coming into tonight, 24 home runs, 6 stolen bases, hit 239 so far this year. Like that's crazy. Devastating from a guy you were expecting to carry your batting average.
Yeah, and again, a guy I have one share of, and never considered taking him out of my lineup unless he's hurt, that kind of thing. Obviously he's on a different team now, but even when he was still in Washington, he was better than since he's been in San Diego, but he was still hitting 246. The power was still there. He had 21 of his homers were in Washington, and then he moved to San Diego, and he's only had 3 since then in 140 plate appearances. So I have to look into it more. But I mean, I'm looking at his home run per fly ball mark looks incredibly fluky. So like his career mark is 22.7%. He's at 8.6%, so something just isn't adding up there. The max EV is lower. He's at 111.4, which is the lowest of his career. He's still hitting the ball hard. The barrel rate is slightly down, but not much. The launch angle is much higher. So he has a career launch angle of 8.4. This year it's at 14.8. So it seems like he's just hitting maybe more pop-ups or hitting it up in the air more. I don't know. The guy's incredibly talented, though. He's going to be 24 years old next year. I don't expect him to continue to struggle moving forward. But at the same time, without the steals and with the average not being there as not being a guarantee, at least, I do think he's going to probably be back in that 290 area next year. But you can't draft him in the first round. He's probably looking at again, I think probably second, third round, maybe.
If he's second round, I think he's an instant pick.
Yeah.
He's just too talented. And you have to wonder how much of the trade rumors and things like that got to him and the contract negotiations and all of that. He's, he seems
but he's been worse. But he's been worse since that, right? So, since getting traded, he's been
new home, new location, learning the park, learning batting eye. I think he's going to be fine. He's just too talented of a player. I don't think I would take him in the first round, but I feel and this is one of the reasons why, I'm very comfortable coming into next year drafting at the back end of the draft. If you could start with an ace and then Soto in the second, I'm feeling pretty darn good about my start.
I have a feeling I think he's going to be going later than that. I think people are in the middle of the second round are probably going to be able to draft Soto next year. We'll see.
I'm totally fine. I don't want a top 7 pick. I want 8 to 15.
But this is a guy who could also, with the new rules, this is a guy who could be looking at an uptick in speed. This is a guy who's always had the ability to run more, and he's young enough and
he's expressed desire to want to run more.
Exactly. So he's stolen 12, 6, 9, 6. I think you could easily see him steal 15 next year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't want to say he's going to be a target of mine because I don't think you should be saying anybody in the first 2 rounds are technically a target.
Yeah.
But if he's there in the second round, I think I'm taking him pretty much every draft. I just think he's too good of a hitter. Let's talk about another guy who's a pretty darn good hitter, but injuries derailed kind of the season for him. Wander Franco. There were a lot of people who were really, really high on him. He was going 4th, 5th rounds in a lot of drafts. The top prospect in all of baseball. Widely considered one of the best hit tools to come out of the minors. in a very long time. He's been a huge bust. And it's been, mostly injury related, though. Even before the injury, he was slowing down. Are you going back to the well on Wander Franco? Because I think he's going to come at a discount.
Yeah, I mean, this was a guy who I was avoiding this year because he was just going way too high without having shown. I mean, he was 21 years old. Like that's the thing. Like these guys are still developing their power this early at this early stage. He wasn't a guy who ran a ton. Like he ran, but not. You weren't expecting like 20 plus steals from him necessarily. But you're looking at the metrics. Like XBA is 291. He's hitting 265. That the hit tool is legit. I mean. His max EV this year is 112.4. That's really good. He's not barreling the ball a lot, but I think he's going to keep adding strength to his profile, as he gets older and everything. And he's going to be good. He's going to be really, really good. And I was never willing to draft him, as high as the guys who already were good. Where I was like, okay, if everything comes together for him, he could be Xander Bogaerts this year, yet he's going higher than Xander Bogaerts. Like that just didn't make any sense to me. But even being on the Rays, he still plays every day. He was the one guy that they played every day, regardless. Even though most of their lineup is fluid from day to day. So I'm not worried about playing time there. It just all depends on where he's going. I just think there's probably going to be some Wander Franco honk in every draft that's going to be willing to draft him ahead of where I will take him. But I think he'll probably end up returning value if he doesn't go super high.
Where do you think that place is that you would draft him? Because my argument this year is why take Wander Franco in the 4th when I can get DJ LeMahieu in like the 8th or 9th? And if he's going in the 8th or 9th, then I'm feeling good, but I just don't know that he's going to get that far. Yeah,
I think he'll probably go I think he'll end up going in like the 6th round. And I think it'll probably be a little bit early for me, but we'll see. He could even go higher though. And in high stakes drafts, I could see someone being super high on him and take him in the 5th or something like that.
Yeah. So if he finishes off the season well, like it's going to be, people are going to.
Yeah. Well, then we're getting into a whole nother conversation and it could be even higher than that. Yeah.
Yeah. Brandon Lau has been super disappointing this year. Again, another guy who's had his season derailed by injuries for the most part. Any chance you're going back to the well on him?
I've never been a Brandon Lau guy, and he's being a left-handed hitter. He's a guy that they're gonna platoon versus lefties a lot. I mean, not necessarily strictly platoon, but he's gonna sit a lot. And so I'm probably just gonna continue to avoid Brandon Lau. To be honest with you, he's just never been the guy that I felt was a fit for my teams.
I mean, I've been a Brandon Lau guy in the past. It burned me this year pretty good. It's been pretty good up until this point. I think it just depends on what the price is. He's one of those guys I think could have a really, really big drop and be a guy who's going outside the top 10 rounds. If that's the case, I'm going to take the gamble because we're talking about a guy who can, hit 40 home runs in a full season. And he has a little bit of speed to his game. He's never been a huge stolen base guy. We lost Dave apparently. But he has been a guy in the past that stole 7 bases in 2021. If the stolen base numbers go up a ton for Brandon or for the league, Brandon Lau is one of those guys that I could see stealing 15 bags. And if I'm getting that outside the top 10 rounds, I'm going to be right back in.
Okay, that's fair.
Ozzie Albies has been a huge disappointment. Talking about that team that I had Trevor Rogers on, that I paired with Lucas Giolito, also had Ozzie Albies. I went Albies, Giolito, and then I took Rossiello, Clase in the 3rd, Trevor Rogers, I think, in the 5th. So that was
I had a very similar team to that, and it always seems to compound that way. You miss on one, and then they keep going. It just keeps getting worse.
It's the league I'm in where Scott Jensen had 2nd overall. So like I said, I feel like I'm helping. I took a lot of those landmines away from Scott.
Yeah,
drafting right next to him.
You were his meat shield in that draft.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome, buddy. If I drank, I'd tell him you need to buy me a beer in Vegas. I don't drink, so he can get me a water or something.
Red Bull? You like your Red Bull, right?
What do you think? How far do you think Albies drops, and are you willing to go back on him? Because I if he's if he finishes out the year healthy, he's gonna come back here soon. He's on a minor league rehab assignment right now. If he finishes out the year healthy, I have no problem going back to the well. I mean, he won't be I don't even think he'll be a top 3-round pick next year.
Yeah, I think he'll go probably early third would be my guess as of right now. I mean, I think this is pretty much a lost year for him. So I don't think we really can. There's not a lot of takeaways here. He'll be 26 next year. He should be good to go. Like, assuming the foot is okay, which it should be whenever he comes back. But he's kind of what people call a compiler. Like the end of the season stats look great, but it's because he gets to 700 plate appearances, and it's hard to bank on getting to that point, And so that's why some people don't feel that those guys are overvalued a bit, because you're kind of banking on the fact that they're going to give you those 700 plate appearances again. And when he did play this year, I believe he was hitting 7th in the lineup.
He was awful this year.
Yeah. So he hit first a bit. He hit a lot of 5th, and then he hit some 6th and some 7th. And maybe some of that's because he's struggling, but they have such a deep lineup. It's not hard to see them playing guys like Harris and maybe even Vaughn Grissom ahead of him, where
Isn't Harris and Vaughn Grissom both been batting low? Or I think Harris moved up, didn't he?
Yeah, Harris moved up. I mean, initially they both started hitting low, yes, but when they were both hitting really well, it's like, okay, we got to move these guys up. So I don't know. I don't know that Albies can crack the top 5, 6 in that lineup. We'll have to see.
A lot depends on if Dansby Swanson resigns there.
That's true too. Yeah.
Swanson could end up on a different team. They've locked up a lot of their young guys, but they haven't locked up Swanson. So it makes me feel like he's probably going to be gone.
Odd man out. Yeah, it could be. Maybe they just don't feel like he's worth the money that he's commanding. I don't know. But I mean, I think he's a solid player. I think he's kind of like a Cedric Mullins type player. I think a lot of people aren't excited about him. But he'll be a guy who can be a steady producer for your team.
Contributes in all 5 categories. That's what I want.
Yeah, exactly. Granted, he was only at 244 this year, but again, it's 263 plate appearances is kind of a lost year. I think he's more of a 260, 270 hitter.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, he ran with a 266 BABIP this year. I'm not super worried about his batting average. Teoscar Hernandez, and this one's disappointing. You going back to the well?
I didn't draft him anywhere this year, but
I didn't either. But
so with him, the thing was he was right on the edge for me. Like, I don't like to take hitters early who really struggle with their contact, and he was he was always like a mid 60s to high 60s contact rate guy, and then last year he spiked up to 70% and had a monster year. And I'm like, what are the odds that he actually is able to stay at that rate? I never thought that he was going to repeat hitting. He had 289 and then in the short season, and then 296 last year. I was shocked that he had 296 last year. I think he's more of like a 245, 255, somewhere in that range kind of hitter. Because he hits the ball so hard, pretty much. That's really that's what's been buoying his average, because he just doesn't make a ton of contact. So if he's going anywhere, at the top of, in the first 3 rounds, I'm probably going to be out again. He's just not the profile that I'm looking for at that point. But again, he's another guy who could run more next year with the rule changes. He's a guy who's at 6 steals right now, could be stealing 15 again next year.
Yeah, I think he definitely could be. I think I need a pretty big discount. I think he needs to be going 8th, 9th round for me to be going. And I don't know if he will. He could, because he's one of those guys, he had such a disappointing season in a number of different aspects, where, he missed time for injury. The power hasn't been what it was. The batting average hasn't been what it was. He's still in bases, came back down that. I think he could have a pretty big drop in the ADP. So if that's the case, then I'll take a gamble.
If you've noticed, we've mentioned a few Blue Jays here, him and Bo Bichette, and then, Vlad earlier. I think it's pretty clear that all these guys were just extremely buoyed in the power department by those tiny parks, So once they go back to Rogers Center Field or whatever it's called, that's, I think, been a big reason why a lot of these guys' power is down. I think a lot of people overrated what kind of power these guys actually had.
But I don't think that's fair, because he was great after they went back to Rogers Center last year. Like, I mean, I hear people say that about like him and
What are
Marcus
we talking
Simmons,
about?
but sorry, Teoscar.
Teoscar? Okay.
I mean, in September he hit 10 home runs with 304 batting average. In August he was hitting 6 home runs with 301 batting. He was fine when they went back to Rogers Center. Marcus Semien was fine when they went back to Rogers Center. I just think this is a down year. Like, I just think it's a down year. Like, it's breaking news.
I don't know. I see several guys with down years, and it makes me think that there's something else going on there.
And,
what did he say?
This is a joke. He says, breaking news, Blue Jays are pulling a reverse Orioles and moving defenses in. They should. All right, let's finish out with Javier Baez. We're almost we're over 2 hours at this point, and I have a meeting in 10 minutes.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Love you, Nick, but you definitely extended the podcast tonight. Javier Baez has just been atrocious this year. Like, there's no way around it. Like, all of, like, we've been saying, like, the worst case scenario for him is like just an extremely low floor. This is it. Like, we've seen it this year. That being said, you got to think he's going to be extremely cheap next year, right? Like, he's a lottery ticket kind of guy.
I don't know. Yes, but I just don't know what the upside is in that park, and that's the thing. I think when he was in Wrigley, was one thing. You know, I knew that he wasn't as bad as he was in 2020, but the 2021 bounce back was huge for him. I don't think I see another bounce back like that in Detroit. That lineup is terrible. There's no protection for him there, and the park is just horrible hitting environs. So personally, I'll just be continuing to stay away from Baez unless, like, he's so cheap I can't ignore him anymore.
Well, what is so cheap that you can't ignore him anymore? Are we talking after the 15th round?
Probably, yeah.
Because I think that's where he could go. Like, honestly,
he could. Yeah,
we're talking about a guy who is no longer going to be eligible at second base. He's going to be only eligible at shortstop. He has, like you said, not much in terms of offensive talent around him, at least not mature offensive talent. Riley Green and Torkelson are still really, really young.
Yeah.
He's going to play every day. He's buried buried at the shortstop position in terms of other guys because it's such a deep position. I think he goes super, super late. Like, I think he could be outside top 15 rounds. And then you're talking about a guy who's been 2020 in the past that you're getting after round 15. Like, after pick 300, all right, fine. I'll take the gamble.
I just don't think you can compare that because I don't think that I don't see guys showing that power in Detroit. It was like the same thing with Castellanos. It's like, I don't think these guys are capable of what they were in other parks in Detroit. So will he be able to run? Yeah. I mean, he has 8 steals this year. He had 18 in 2021 with the new rule changes. I could easily see him stealing 15, maybe even 20 bases. I could see the average rebounding a bit. Hey, his K rate's down, like he was at 32 and 33.5% the last 2 years. And now he's down to sub 25%, which is great. And we know that he hits the ball hard. Well, his hard hit rate is also way down, but his max EV is still 112, which is not as high as it usually is, but it's still solid. I just don't think I don't. Maybe he's not playing for home runs anymore. I don't know, but I would be shocked if that home run number was over, say, 20 next year.
I mean, that I'm not disagreeing with you. But I think like it's a worthy gamble. Like it's like if he's a guy like
after top 300. Yeah.
If you're getting him in round 17, like, and after a month he's still doing this kind of stuff, you drop him and you move on to the next guy. Like you just don't care. Like, it's the people who took him in the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds this year that held on to him and sunk their season.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Earth update. What do we got?
Yeah, quick Earth update. So, unfortunately, Glarf has finally been displaced as in first place by Nerf. It won't last. We'll take the lead again this week, but for now, Nerf has passed us, which is crazy. I think literally since week 3 we've been in first place. So it's been they've been charging up the board here, and they caught up finally. So within Glarf, Jenny and I are tied for first, or at least earlier today we were, and then I got as high as 9th overall. I think I'm currently somewhere around like 15th or something like that. I am down to $2 in Fab though, but I know how much it would break your heart if I won the Earth overall again, which is absolutely why I want
you're
to
not.
do.
Yeah, you're not going to do
You've been saying that the whole time, but I've been top 10, dude. Like, yeah,
it's impressive.
I mean, you can keep, that's just motivation. But down to $2 in Fab, so it's gonna be pretty tough to do. But Tarf, Slarf, and Surf have all come up recently. They're all in the top 5 now. They're in the picture. Like, they're gonna need a push here in the last 3 weeks, but it's a horse race now, and that's kind of exciting. It's who wants it more for their charity. Make sure all the players in your league are active and trying, because that's what it's going to take to win this. Ray Butler back in first place. Jeff Erickson is back in second, and Ryan Venancio in third. And Derek Rhodes has creeped up to fourth, and he's in contention for the overall as well. Like, he's only 20 points out of first place or something like that. So he could definitely still win it. It's going to be an exciting finish.
I would like to point out that in spite of losing pretty much every single one of my pitchers I drafted this year, and losing my first round pick in Ozzy Albies, and losing other offensive players, I have fought my way up to 10th place in my league.
That is actually impressive.
Yeah, and I am continuing the fight. It's not going to help Barf in the overall standings, because there's other people at the bottom that aren't doing their heavy lifting. But I have not given up. I am not going to cash in my league by any stretch of the imagination. But if I can move up into the top half of my league after what I went through injury-wise on this team, I'm going to consider that a win.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like,
and that's why I want people like you in Earth, Justin. I mean, because like, you embody that, fighting spirit. It doesn't matter that you're not going to win. You're still trying, and that's what I want out of everybody who joins Earth. I don't want any dead teams. I don't want anybody giving up and stuff. Because we all are still playing for something, and I have to keep that in mind. We're all still trying to compete for our charities. Granted, yes, Barf is not really competing at this point, but that's great to hear. I do wish you luck. I hope you get it up into 7th or 8th place.
Yeah, I mean, I have 69 total points. Nice. But I mean, I don't think I can get any higher than maybe 8th, but I'm going for it. I'm going for it. So yeah,
do it.
Yeah. Well, with that, you got anything else going on? Anything you need to promote?
Nope, nothing.
All right. Well, you can follow Dave on Twitter at RunDMCD. Follow me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. You can read all my stuff over on Fangraphs. Hear me on this podcast and Sleeper in the Bus podcast. Going to have a lot of really great stuff coming up this off season, which I'll talk about as we get closer and things come up. So, and like we mentioned at the top, Dave and I are going to continue to record throughout the off season. So, if you are yearning for baseball content after baseball is over, we got you. So stick with us. Don't unsubscribe from the podcast. Hey, definitely give us a rating and review. Really, really helps us out. Especially if it's of the 5-star variety. If it's not of the 5-star variety, don't worry about it. Don't do it then.
And feel free to give us a 5-star review, and then you can talk shit about us in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
We actually encourage that. So
yeah, if you want to say how much you hate Dave or hate me in the comment, but give us a 5-star review, absolutely, that's great.
All about that.
Somebody gave me and Paula a 5-star review in which they completely roasted us, but they gave us 5 stars, so we appreciate that. So
that's fair enough.
Yeah, totally fine. With that, for Dave and myself, thank you for listening. Have fantastic baseball.